Phoenix Nights. Chapter 2460. In the underwater palace, the mountain and river cauldron was still running the primordial chaos force to erase the seal of the medicine field. The countless runes that formed the seal had become extremely dim. At this time, the battle between Gu Fei and the golden spiritual ape had also reached a white-hot stage. It was extremely fierce. Rumble! Rays of bright golden light rushed out of the golden spiritual ape's body. It was actually transforming. The evil chi on its body was dispelled by the recovery of the origin power in its body, and a trace of vitality was restored. How is this possible? Gu Fei was shocked to the extreme. This golden spiritual ape was just a corpse, but it had reversed life and death, and a trace of vitality appeared in its body. This was going against the natural order of things. Were the golden spiritual apes really so abnormal that they could be resurrected even if they were dead? Seeing this scene, Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. One had to know that death was death. It was not impossible to be reborn against the natural order of things. However, he had never seen such a reversal of life and death like this golden spiritual ape. It should be a different kind of rebirth. Even if it was successfully reborn, this golden spiritual ape would not be the original golden spiritual ape. Boom! The origin power in the golden spiritual ape's body erupted, and the void was shaking. Its body was shining with golden light, like a golden god of war, giving people a strong sense of oppression. Gu Fei was shocked. It was hard to imagine how powerful this golden spiritual ape was in its heyday. Swish! The golden spiritual ape's fighting spirit was infinite, and its figure suddenly disappeared. At that moment, Gu Fei sensed it, and raised his hand to slap upward. Bang! A golden fist directly punched out of the void without warning, colliding with Gu Fei's palm. Tap, tap! Gu Fei couldn't help but take 2 steps back. At this time, a golden ape fell out of the void, somersaulted in the air, and landed in front of Gu Fei. At the moment when the golden spiritual ape's feet landed, Gu Fei only saw a golden light flashing in front of him, and a golden claw had already grabbed his chest. So fast! Gu Fei didn't think much and directly raised his hand to block it. Bang! The 2 forces collided again. Gu Fei only felt a strong force passing through his arm, causing him to involuntarily take 3 steps back. Good Lord! Gu Fei's heart trembled. Compared to before, this golden spirit ape's speed and strength had increased by several times. Every movement it made contained great might. The physique of the golden spiritual ape was also extremely strong, not inferior to that of a martial body. A light flashed in Gu Fei's eyes. It seems that I have to be more serious, Gu Fei muttered to himself. After that, a series of explosions rang out from his body. The power of his indestructible primal chaos martial body was unleashed as a surge of primal chaos chi circulated around his body. At this time, the golden spirit ape had already closed in again. The powerful pressure from its body caused the surrounding void to tremble. The golden spiritual ape was not really resurrected. A wisp of vitality in its body was actually emitted by the origin power in its body. The golden spiritual ape had no soul and was just a walking corpse. All that was left was an inextinguishable fighting spirit. It was this inextinguishable fighting spirit that led the golden spiritual ape to fight with Gu Fei. Eat my fist! Gu Fei didn't use any big skills. He directly used the simplest combat skills to fight the golden spiritual ape. A powerful wave of power spread from his fist. This was the purest power of a martial body. Boom! The golden spiritual ape's attack was also very direct. The 2 fists collided again. This time, Gu Fei was not forced back. He was as still as a mountain. The golden spiritual ape's body shook, and it took a step back. Again. Gu Fei's fighting spirit erupted. His long hair danced, and his eyes were like cold stars. He took a step forward and punched the golden spiritual ape again. An even more powerful force erupted from his fist. Roar! The golden spiritual ape seemed to feel the strong pressure from Gu Fei. It roared instinctively and then raised its fist to meet the attack. A dazzling divine light bloomed on its golden fist. Boom! The two fists collided fiercely, and a loud noise broke out. The surrounding void was instantly shaken, and black spatial cracks appeared. The golden spiritual ape's body was shaking. Then, it took 5 steps back. With each step, the entire ground shook. It was as if a golden mountain was moving. What a strong physique! Gu Fei was shocked to see that the golden spiritual ape was only forced back 5 steps by his punch. At the same time, he couldn't help but admire it. The golden spiritual ape was known to have the strongest combat body. This was not a lie. Again. Gu Fei roared, and his aura rose again. He was like an ancient god of war descending. He strode forward and punched again. This time, the golden spiritual ape was shaken away. Cracks appeared on its body, which seemed to be made of immortal gold, as if it would collapse at any time. Gu Fei hadn't used the Ascension secret technique, but at this time, the power of his chaotic immortal martial body had fully erupted. This power was so powerful that it was invincible among martial artists of the same level. It could defeat all powerful opponents of the same level. Although the golden spiritual ape was extremely powerful when it was alive and could compete with the ancient ancestral dragon, the power of the golden spiritual ape's origin power was now less than 1% of its peak. Just as Gu Fei was about to completely suppress the golden spiritual ape, a powerful wave suddenly spread from the medicinal field. Immediately afterward, Gu Fei flew up and was shaken away by the spreading wave of power. The golden spiritual ape was no exception. In the face of this powerful wave, even someone as strong as Gu Fei flew away like a withered leaf in the wind. Rumble! The entire underwater dragon palace began to shake. Beams of bright divine light shot up into the sky from the herb field and escaped in all directions. Countless runes dissipated in the void like fireworks. After emitting a bright light, they completely disappeared in the void of heaven and earth. Ha ha! I finally succeeded! I'm a genius! The voice of the mountain and river cauldron sounded in Gu Fei's heart. Chapter 2461. The seal on the medicinal field was broken. Boundless spiritual light rushed out in all directions like divine rainbows, emitting a dazzling brilliance that illuminated the entire world. The seal of the undersea dragon palace sealed the entire dragon palace. When the countless spiritual light rushed into the sky and collided with the seal, it was all integrated into the seal. Buzz! The seal of the dragon palace was shaking. After swallowing this huge force, the seal that enveloped the entire undersea dragon palace became even stronger. At this moment, Gu Fei was sent flying thousands of feet away by the powerful force when the seal collapsed. Bang! He hit a pavilion. The force of the collision was so great that it made Gu Fei dizzy. In the next moment, he fell from the sky and smashed into the ice-cold ground. However, the pavilion that he crashed into didn't even shake, nor was it damaged in the slightest. The entire undersea dragon palace was built by the ancient ancestral dragon and was extremely strong. With the protection of the ancestral dragon's power, even a quasi-supreme existence would not be able to damage it. Like Gu Fei, the golden spiritual ape, who was sent flying by the powerful force when the seal collapsed, also hit a building and rolled on the ground. The golden spiritual ape's body was extremely strong. After landing, it immediately stood up and rushed to where Gu Fei was. A golden figure was moving quickly in the divine palace. Swoosh! The golden spiritual ape stepped on a pavilion, and its whole body soared into the sky. Then, it pounced on Gu Fei on the street in front of it. Like a golden divine fire falling from the sky, a powerful and terrifying force came down from the sky. Gu Fei could not help but be moved. Preposterous! I'm done playing! Gu Fei abruptly raised his head and looked at the golden spirit ape that was fiercely pouncing towards him. His eyes shot out 2 extremely sharp beams of light. Ascend! Gu Fei roared and no longer held back. He directly used the Ascend secret skill. His power instantly soared several times, and a violent force that was strong enough to shake the world burst out from his right arm. At the moment when this force broke out, the sleeve on Gu Fei's right arm was instantly shattered into thousands of pieces. Boom! Without any hesitation, Gu Fei threw out a powerful punch. The muscles on his entire arm trembled and bulged, giving off a feeling of being filled with power. The power of this punch was too strong. The golden spiritual ape that was swooping down from the sky was directly shaken by Gu Fei's punch, and there was a sound of bones breaking. Roar! The gold spirit ape roared indignantly. It was blown high up in the sky, almost hitting the seal of the dragon palace. A golden divine light expanded from its chest. Its broken bones were healing quickly. So many cracks on its body were disappearing at a speed that naked eyes could observe. This was the origin power of the golden spiritual ape. The golden divine light spread on the golden spiritual ape's body like a wave, and wherever it passed, the injured body would be healed in an instant. A powerful wave of energy spread out from the golden spirit ape's chest. The golden spiritual ape floated high in the sky, and the golden light in its eyes was almost tangible. It stared at Gu Fei below, and it was ready to attack Gu Fei at any time. At this time, Gu Fei's body rose from the ground, and his whole body was surrounded by chaotic qi. In the chaotic qi, there was a little bit of inconspicuous golden light. He used the Ascension secret skill, and the power of his martial body soared to a level that made experts of the same level despair. In such a state, he was confident that he could suppress the golden spiritual ape. However, at this time, a big cauldron flew over and directly took the golden spiritual ape in the sky into the big cauldron. The golden spiritual ape, which was so powerful that even Gu Fei had to take it seriously, did not even have the power to resist. It was absorbed and sealed by the mountain and river cauldron. Gu Fei could not help but be stunned when he saw this scene. "Brat, you still have time to play around. Go and collect your 7 divine medicines." The voice of the mountain and river cauldron sounded in Gu Fei's heart. What? At this time, Gu Fei sensed an extremely powerful force coming from the depths of the divine palace. This force made his heart palpitate, and he could not think of resisting at all. An unimaginably powerful existence was alarmed. Even the mountain and river cauldron had to pay attention to that force, and did not dare to neglect it. At this time, Gu Fei had already rushed to the medicine field and directly rushed into the medicine field. In the medicine field, he saw that the 7 quasi-immortal herbs were frantically devouring the essence in the medicine field. The thick spiritual qi in the medicine field gathered towards the 7 quasi-immortal herbs like 7 bottomless black holes, dividing the entire spiritual qi in the medicine field. Soon, the huge amount of spiritual qi in the medicine field, which was almost liquefied, was completely devoured by the 7 quasi-immortal herbs. Seeing this, Gu Fei was not surprised, but happy. These 7 quasi-immortal herbs were really magical. After the 7 quasi-immortal herbs devoured a huge amount of spiritual qi, the divine light emitted from the quasi-immortal herbs became even brighter, like 7 jumping flames. Rumble! Gu Fei's hands moved in front of him, and he directly opened his inner world. Then, he took the 7 quasi-immortal herbs into his inner world. After Gu Fei took the 7 quasi-immortal herbs, the force from the mountain and river cauldron that suppressed the entire medicine field finally retreated. If the medicine field had not been suppressed, how could Gu Fei have obtained the 7 quasi-immortal herbs? The herbs had spirituality, and they would escape on their own. It was very difficult to catch them. It was difficult for these quasi-immortal herbs to cultivate great divine powers, master all kinds of great techniques, and even develop complete spirituality. However, these spirits were very sensitive to the dangers around them. As soon as they sensed a threat, they would immediately escape. After the 7 quasi-immortal herbs entered the inner world where Gu Fei's dantian was, they immediately flew into the depths of this inner world and took root next to the heavenly spring of life. As for the biggest heavenly spring of life in this inner world, the 7 quasi-immortal herbs did not dare to go near it, because it was the territory of the immortal dragon herb. The immortal dragon herb was a real immortal herb. When the 7 quasi-immortal herbs sensed the immortal dragon herb's aura, they did not dare to go near the heavenly spring of life. Just as Gu Fei took the 7 quasi-immortal herbs, a huge figure stood up in the depths of the palace. A shocking evil qi spread from the figure, filling every inch of the void. That is. Chapter 2462. A powerful enemy had appeared, and the aura of an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator surged forth. Gu Fei felt like he was suffocating, as if all the air around him had been sucked dry in an instant. He could not breathe. Even though he had activated the power of the purple gold divine sword to protect himself, he was still affected by the powerful aura emanating from the gigantic figure. A gigantic dragon silhouette had appeared in the sky above the pavilions. The dragon's aura emanating from the dragon was unimaginably powerful. It was the aura of an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator. Could the ancient ancestral dragon still be alive? Gu Fei suddenly thought of this possibility, and couldn't help being startled by his own thoughts. It had to be known that if the ancestral dragon really wasn't dead and was hiding in the underwater dragon palace, it was definitely not a good thing for him. Don't worry. That unlucky guy died a long time ago. However, there were some things that did not fall into his hands when he died, the mountain river cauldron said. It knew many great secrets of the world. The fall of the ancestral dragon was a huge event that shook the entire world of cultivation. The ancient ancestral dragon was so powerful that it could even kill an adult golden spiritual ape. It was an overlord that ruled over a vast territory. It would be strange if an ultimate Emperor Realm cultivator like this wasn't killed by someone else. You're here for those things. Gu Fei came to a realization. There was no way the mountain river cauldron would spend so much effort to enter the dragon palace. There must be something here that would make it jealous. Isn't that obvious? The mountain river cauldron said impatiently. The dragon's aura in front of them was vast and mighty. The faint roar of a dragon could be heard in the sky. The gigantic dragon's silhouette circled in the sky, as if the real ancestral dragon had descended. Looks like that guy still has something up his sleeve. This is going to be troublesome, the mountain river cauldron said. It seemed like it had not expected something like this to happen. After all, anyone who could kill the ancient ancestral dragon was a powerful figure. Of course, the ancient ancestral dragon was no pushover either. Should we continue? Gu Fei transmitted his voice to the mountain river cauldron. Why not? We're already here. Even if we want to retreat now, we'll have to see if the other party agrees, the mountain river cauldron said. This? Gu Fei was shocked to hear this. It seemed that this matter was not simple. However, with his current cultivation and knowledge, he could not see anything. Without reaching that level, it would be difficult to truly understand the power and terror of that level. Brat, hurry up and come in. It's time for you to show your strength. The voice of the mountain and river cauldron was extremely solemn. Gu Fei felt a little helpless. Countless runes were destroyed, and the mountain and river cauldron was actually sent flying hundreds of meters away. One could imagine how powerful that collision had been. What's going on? That unlucky fellow's dragon chi doesn't seem to have been damaged at all. How strange, the god within the mountain and river cauldron muttered. It was controlling Gu Fei's chaotic indestructible martial body and had retreated far away. When it sensed the ultimate emperor-level power emanating from the golden dragon, it couldn't help but be surprised. The dragon chi was actually undamaged. How had the ancient ancestor dragon managed to do that? The god within the mountain and river cauldron couldn't understand. After all, the ancient ancestor dragon had been slain by an ancient figure. Could it be that the ancient figure had also wanted the dragon chi, which was why he hadn't destroyed it? The god within the mountain and river cauldron thought about it for a long time, and it seemed that this was the only possible explanation. The ancestor dragon's dragon chi was extremely valuable. Even the mountain and river cauldron coveted it. It was much better than the corpse of the ancestor god that Gu Fei had obtained from the setting sun demon lair. If the mountain and river cauldron could obtain the ancestor dragon's dragon chi, it would be able to completely recover. Suppress. The god within the mountain and river cauldron immediately sent the cauldron flying towards the golden dragon. A powerful sealing force began to emanate from the cauldron. Bang! The golden dragon swung its tail, slamming it against the mountain and river cauldron in an attempt to send it flying. This time, however, the mountain and river cauldron only trembled slightly. Unlike before, it wasn't sent flying by the golden dragon. Instead, the golden dragon's movements seemed to slow down. Buzz! The instant the dragon pearl was spat out, it emitted millions of rays of golden light, as if it had transformed into a terrifying golden divine sundae. It charged towards the mountain and river cauldron. The power of the ultimate imperial great Tao surged. Boom! There was a massive explosion as the golden sun, formed by the dragon orb, slammed heavily into the mountain and river cauldron. An unimaginably powerful wave of ultimate Emperor Realm power exploded from the dragon orb. The peerless ultimate Emperor Realm power shook the mountain and river cauldron, causing countless inscriptions to vanish. The primal chaos divine chains hanging from the mountain and river cauldron were almost completely shattered, and the golden dragon almost managed to break free from the restraints of the primal chaos divine chains. The mountain river cauldron suppressed the surroundings and blocked all the remaining power. Even so, countless pavilions and terraces in the divine palace collapsed. Just this one attack had almost destroyed half of the divine palace. Buzz! The mountain and river cauldron rumbled, and primordial chaos chi exploded, sending the golden dragon pearl flying. At the same time, it stabilized everything, preventing the entire divine palace from collapsing. Alright, looks like I have to get serious. The god within the mountain and river cauldron was both shocked and angry. It had never imagined that the dragon essence left behind by that unlucky ancient fellow would be so powerful. However, the more powerful the dragon essence was, the better it was for the mountain and river cauldron. Seal the heavens and trap the earth! The god within the mountain and river cauldron roared. It controlled Gu Fei's primal chaos indestructible martial body, and used the mountain and river cauldron to seal the area. Primordial chaos Tao patterns appeared on the body of the mountain and river cauldron, then rushed out and imprinted themselves in all directions. An extremely powerful sealing power was rapidly condensing. In an instant, the power of the mountain and river cauldron sealed the area, enveloping both the golden dragon and the dragon pearl. Primordial chaos Tao patterns appeared in the surrounding void, drawing upon the power of the great Tao. The sealing power continued to increase, and the entire void that had been sealed by the mountain and river cauldron seemed to be solidifying. Chaotic primordial divine chains rushed out from the mountain and river cauldron. Not only did they bind the golden dragon tightly, but they also wrapped around the dragon pearl. This time, no matter how much the golden dragon struggled, it was to no avail. The power of the mountain and river cauldron was clearly much more powerful than the dragon essence. Boom, boom, boom! Boundless ultimate emperor power erupted from the golden dragon and the dragon pearl. Countless ultimate emperor Tao patterns appeared, and both the dragon and the dragon pearl struggled desperately, trying to break free from the power of the mountain and river cauldron. However, all of this was in vain. The golden dragon and the dragon pearl were slowly being pulled towards the mouth of the mountain and river cauldron by the primordial chaos god chains. Although the mountain and river cauldron had the upper hand and was able to completely suppress the power of the ultimate emperor realm, sucking the golden dragon and the dragon pearl into the mountain and river cauldron was not an easy task. The ultimate emperor realm power emanating from the golden dragon and the dragon pearl grew stronger and stronger. The ultimate emperor Tao patterns continued to appear, unleashing a terrifying amount of ultimate emperor realm power. The primordial chaos divine chains continued to emit clanging noises. Several hours later, the mountain river cauldron finally pulled the golden dragon and the dragon pearl into the mountain river cauldron by the primordial chaos divine chains. Bzzz. The moment the golden dragon and the dragon pearl were sucked into the mountain and river cauldron, the dragon pearl shuddered. Suddenly, something happened. The golden dragon shattered without any warning, transforming into boundless golden light. In the instant that the golden dragon collapsed, the dragon pearl gave birth to a heaven-devouring power. Endless golden light frantically gathered towards the dragon pearl. The golden dragon's ultimate emperor realm power was completely swallowed up by the dragon pearl. After devouring the ultimate dragon essence, the dragon pearl began to emanate a terrifying ultimate emperor realm aura. Even the heavens and earth within the mountain and river cauldron began to tremble. The dragon pearl shone with a dazzling light. 9 golden dragon-shaped Tao patterns could be seen on its surface. They looked like 9 tiny golden ancestral dragons that were swimming around its surface. Ha! The outcome was set. The deity in the cauldron of mountain and river laughed out loud. This was the true form of the peerless dragon essence. This dragon essence was almost sentient. If given enough time, the dragon essence might give birth to another ancestral dragon. But now that the ultimate dragon essence had fallen into the mountain and river cauldron's hands, it no longer had any chance of giving birth to another ancestral dragon. At that moment, a wretched-looking old man emerged from Gu Fei's body. At the same time, Gu Fei's divine soul awoke from its slumber. Did you succeed? Chapter 2464. Inside the mountain river cauldron, a dragon essence floated in the vast void. 9 dragon shadows swam around the dragon essence. Those were the 9 extreme Emperor Dragon marks. Every single extreme Emperor Dragon mark emitted a powerful aura that was capable of crushing the heavens and the earth. Even if they were sealed by the primordial chaos Tao markings, the aura they emitted still caused Gu Fei's heart to palpitate. Even the mountain river cauldron could not completely isolate the aura of the extreme Emperor Dragon essence. Rumble! The void was shaking. The void around the extreme Emperor Dragon essence rippled like water. If it were not for the power of the mountain river cauldron that sealed the void, the place where the extreme Emperor Dragon essence was would definitely have collapsed. Such a strong dragon essence could not even be withstood by the heaven and earth. The extreme Emperor Dragon power was enough to shatter the void and turn an area into chaos. Ha! Inside the mountain river cauldron, the wretched old man laughed. The extreme Emperor Dragon essence was a complete dragon essence left behind by the ancient ancestor dragon. Gu Fei was envious when he saw the dragon essence. After all, this dragon essence was stronger than the immortal divinity of the god ancestor's immortal divine body that he had obtained in the Sunset Devil Cave. The ancient ancestor dragon was a connate divine beast that was born by the heaven and earth. It was extremely powerful and once dominated the untainted land. As for the immortal divine body in the setting sun demon cave, it was killed by the setting sun demon ancestor before it was born. Compared to the extreme Emperor Dragon Yuan, the origin power of the god ancestor was much weaker. No wonder this guy looked down on the origin of the god ancestor. It was too good for him. Gu Fei knew that it would take him a long time to completely absorb the origin of the god ancestor. Although he was jealous, he did not have any thoughts about the extreme Emperor Dragon essence. Moreover, this time, he had obtained 7 quasi-immortal divine medicines. 7 quasi-immortal divine medicines were equivalent to 1 immortal divine medicine. Such a harvest was not small. Ha, brat, you're lucky. I'm in a good mood. I'll give you this palace, the old man said with a smile. He was the god's will of the mountain and river cauldron, which was equivalent to a supreme being. If he could take away the dragon essence of the emperor, he could naturally take away the divine palace as well. However, Gu Fei knew that it was not so easy to take away the palace because the ancestral dragon must have left his personal mark in the palace. Of course, it would be a different story if the mountain and river cauldron was willing to help. Thank you very much. Gu Fei was a little depressed. If he had known that there would be such a good thing, then what the mountain and river cauldron had done previously would have been unnecessary. Actually, what Gu Fei did not know was that even if the mountain and river cauldron had the ability to erase the mark of the ancient ancestral dragon in the Shin Palace, it would still be difficult for him to obtain the divine weapons in the weapon-keeping pavilion, and even more difficult for him to obtain the divine medicines in the herb farm. The seal set up by the ancestral dragon was not that simple. The mountain and river cauldron did not hesitate and immediately took action. Soon, an ancient cauldron rose from the Shin Palace and floated high up in the sky. A powerful aura that could shock the heavens spread from the ancient cauldron. An extremely powerful sealing force erupted and streaks of primordial chaos Tao patterns rushed out from the mountain and river cauldron and imprinted themselves in the Shin Palace. At this moment, a golden light appeared in the center of the Shin Palace. Within the golden light, the shadow of a dragon could be vaguely seen. That was the mark of the ancient ancestral dragon. It was extremely powerful, and the dragon-shaped Tao pattern emitted a powerful ultimate emperor power. Gu Fei could not help but change his expression. What happened next was not surprising. The mountain and river cauldron showed its power, and used the primordial chaos Tao patterns to suppress the ancestral dragon mark and then erase it. After the ancestral dragon mark was erased by the power of the mountain and river cauldron, Gu Fei sensitively sensed that the aura of the entire Shin Palace had become somewhat different. Rumble! At this moment, the entire Shin Palace actually moved, which shocked Gu Fei to the extreme. Ha! Even the mountain and river cauldron was a little surprised. The wretched-looking old man walked out of the mountain and river cauldron, and then carefully sensed something. At this moment, an incomparably powerful aura of life awakened below the Shin Palace. It was as if an ancient beast had awakened from its slumber. Damn, it's that stone turtle! The old man in the form of a god inside the mountain and river cauldron exclaimed in shock. When Gu Fei heard this, he felt incredulous. The ancient ancestral dragon's Shin Palace was built on top of an incomparably huge stone turtle. However, he never would have thought that the stone turtle was actually not an inanimate object, but an incomparably powerful living creature. At this moment, the stone turtle was undergoing a shocking change. The stone skin on the outside of the stone turtle was cracking and falling off. Two incomparably huge eyes appeared in the dark bottom of the sea. Roar! The stone turtle woke up and roared into the sky. Terrifying waves swept out in all directions, and the depths of the sea were instantly thrown into chaos. This directly affected the surface of the sea. On the surface of the sea, huge waves rose into the sky. A powerful and terrifying aura spread out from the depths of the sea. The sky above the sea suddenly changed color, and the sun and moon lost their light. Rumble, 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 thunder rumbled in the depths of the sky. This was a sign that the power of divine punishment was about to descend. In the depths of the sea, the giant turtle carrying the dragon palace seemed to have also sensed the existence of the power of divine punishment. It actually sealed its own cultivation at the first instant. In the Shin Palace, Gu Fei was extremely shocked. This giant turtle was definitely the one that had lived for the longest time in the world. It should be known that the ancient ancestral dragon's era was very far away from the current era. The ancient divine turtle. Gu Fei sensed the monstrous aura of life and could not help but be moved. Such a living creature had lived for countless years. It was definitely a super antique and extremely frightening. He had already guessed that the mountain and river cauldron must have erased the imprint of the great path that belonged to the ancestral dragon in the dragon palace, allowing the ancient divine turtle to awaken. At this moment, the ancient divine turtle carried the Shin Palace and rose to the surface of the sea. Soon, a Shin Palace broke through the surface of the sea. Gu Fei did not hesitate. He directly opened his inner world and put the Shin Palace and the ancient divine turtle into his inner world. The ancient divine turtle did not resist and let Gu Fei put it into his inner world. A huge divine turtle carrying a Shin Palace appeared in Gu Fei's divine land. This shocking scene shocked all the living creatures in the divine land. This is... The people of the Meng family rushed over and were all dumbfounded when they saw a gigantic black turtle crawling in the mountains with a divine palace on its back. Soon, the three emperors of the undead clan also arrived. This scene also shocked the three emperors of the undead clan. Chapter 2465. The appearance of the primordial divine turtle in Gu Fei's inner world shook the entire divine land. Countless living beings were alarmed and shocked to the extreme. What is that? The patriarch of the Meng family stood on top of a mountain and stared at the scene with his mouth agape. The black turtle that was crawling in the mountains in front of him was much bigger than those mountains. Moreover, there was a divine palace on top of the divine turtle. A divine palace that was surrounded by spiritual qi and flowing with divine light. I sense Grandmaster's aura. Meng Long stood behind the patriarch of the Meng family. He was Gu Fei's first disciple, Gu Zhong's disciple. He was Gu Fei's grand disciple. More than 10 important figures of the Meng family stood on top of the mountain. Its master! In another direction, a black cloud appeared high up in the sky. It was condensed from evil chi that was filled with death chi. 3 figures could be vaguely seen in the black cloud. These 3 figures exuded a heart-palpitating death aura. They were the 3 immortal emperors under Gu Fei. The 3 immortal emperors could be said to be the first group of living beings to follow Gu Fei. In this divine land, the 3 immortal emperors had been constantly cultivating, and their cultivation was extremely powerful. At this moment, Gu Fei held the mountain and river cauldron in his hand. He rushed out of the divine palace that was carried by the primordial divine turtle and landed on top of a mountain. The 3 immortal emperors rushed over and bowed to Gu Fei. "Greetings, master." The 3 immortal emperors did not dare to be negligent. They immediately knelt to Gu Fei. Get up." Gu Fei waved his hand and said, "Thank you, master." The 3 immortal emperors stood up after saying that. Rumble. The primordial divine turtle was still crawling forward slowly. Everywhere it passed, the void shook. The divine turtle was too huge. One of its claws was as big as a mountain. The primordial divine turtle crawled towards the depths of this divine land. At this moment, the people of the Meng family rushed over and bowed to Gu Fei. "Grandmaster, did you catch this giant tortoise?" Meng Long said respectfully to Gu Fei. The person he admired the most was Gu Fei. "You could say that." Gu Fei nodded. He was the one who had taken action to keep the primordial divine turtle into his inner world. However, he also knew that if the primordial divine turtle resisted, it would not be easy to keep it in his inner world. "Ancestral Master is really amazing. I wonder when I will be able to reach the same cultivation level as Ancestral Master," Meng Long said with admiration. "Cultivate diligently, and you will also have the opportunity to become a supreme expert in this world." Gu Fei reached out and touched Meng Long's head. "All right, all of you can disperse. Do whatever you need to do," Gu Fei said to everyone. "Yes, master." Everyone hurriedly responded and left. Even Meng Long left with the Meng family's patriarch. After dismissing everyone, Gu Fei soared into the sky and flew into the depths of this divine land. This was the divine land of divine land. The spiritual chi here was so thick that it was almost liquefied. A few divine springs of life dotted the mountain ridge. This place was surrounded by auspicious clouds and auspicious chi. Immortal birds and auspicious beasts could be seen indistinctly in the mountains. There were countless spiritual herbs growing near the divine springs of life. Spiritual herbs could be seen everywhere, and even divine herbs could be seen. The land nourished by the spiritual chi of the divine springs of life was most suitable for the growth of spiritual herbs and divine herbs. In the outside world, spiritual herbs could only grow in places where spiritual chi gathered. If one wanted to find spiritual herbs, one had to enter the mountains and look for those places with immortal chi. In the depths of Gu Fei's inner world, within a radius of several thousand miles, was a land of immortal spiritual energy. The area around the few divine springs of life was a rare treasure land. If there were no accidents, after countless years, there might be sentient lifeforms born here. Gu Fei patrolled the depths of the divine land. He saw the immortal ancestral dragon herb in the divine springs of life, bathing in the water of the divine spring of life. He also saw the 7 quasi-immortal herbs absorbing the spiritual chi of heaven and earth. In the end, the primordial divine turtle came to the largest divine spring of life in this divine land and stopped. Then, it became motionless and actually fell into a deep sleep. However, Gu Fei could feel that the spiritual chi of heaven and earth around the primordial divine turtle was gradually being absorbed by the primordial divine turtle. However, this process was very slow. The primordial divine turtle had been sealed by the ancient ancestral dragon for countless years. Even if it didn't die, its vitality was damaged. It needed to absorb the spiritual chi of heaven and earth to gradually recover. It's time to go back. Gu Fei stood on the mountain peak and looked towards the sky. His eyes became incomparably deep. Then, he directly opened the inner world and walked out. At this moment, the sea was surging and the sky was dark. Black clouds fell from the sky and dazzling lightning flashed in the black clouds. A storm was coming. Gu Fei appeared above the sea. Seeing this scene, he couldn't help but frown. Then, he was about to leave and return to the Falling Stars continent. However, at this moment, a giant tentacle broke through the surface of the sea without any warning and rushed towards Gu Fei in the sky. Gu Fei was startled. Then, he used the 8 desolation steps and instantly disappeared from where he was, dodging the tentacle. Whoosh! The giant tentacle flew across the sky and smashed through the void. It crushed the place where Gu Fei was just a moment ago, and even the chaotic air was smashed out. What a strong physique! Seeing this, Gu Fei was secretly shocked. So it was the gigantic beast in the depths of the sea that made a move. This gigantic beast was extremely powerful, and not something that ordinary sea beasts could compare to. Whoosh! Another tentacle broke out of the water and lashed at Gu Fei. It was like a long whip that was as large as a mountain ridge. Wherever it passed, there was a sharp sound as it tore through the air. "Do you think I'm afraid of you?" Gu Fei bellowed. Chaotic force surged from his body, and he did not dodge this time. He directly threw a punch at the incoming tentacle. The powerful force caused the entire space to tremble. Boom! With a loud bang, Gu Fei's punch landed on the tentacle. The tentacle, which was as big as a mountain ridge, was actually blown away by his punch. Roar! A deep roar rang out from the depths of the sea. The surface of the sea shook violently, creating towering waves. An extremely powerful baleful aura surged up from the depths of the sea. "I'd like to see just what this guy is," muttered Gu Fei. Gu Fei muttered. He stared at the surface of the sea below. The sea beast was rapidly approaching the surface of the sea. Numerous gigantic tentacles reached out from the sea. Chapter 2466. The surface of the sea rumbled as huge waves rose high into the sky. The gigantic beast was finally about to appear. Even Gu Fei was feeling a little nervous. One must know that this sea beast was different from the rest. It even dared to attack the seal of the Dragon Palace at the bottom of the sea. This meant that it was definitely a supreme being. An existence like this was practically invincible in the human realm. However, before the power of the heavens' wrath in the human realm disappeared, even a quasi-supreme being would have to use a secret technique to suppress their cultivation, not daring to challenge the power of the heavens' wrath. As such, even if this sea beast was a quasi-supreme being, Gu Fei did not mind it at all. This sea beast was definitely a decent opponent. Rumble! A powerful aura surged out from the sea. On the surface of the sea, a series of gigantic tentacles that were as huge as mountains reached out from the sea. The gigantic beast had finally revealed itself. This is... Looking at this scene, Gu Fei's eyes narrowed. A gigantic head appeared on the surface of the sea. It was the head of an octopus. However, underneath the octopus head, there was a human body. A gigantic beast with a human body and an octopus head stood up from the surface of the sea. Roar! The gigantic beast roared into the sky. Its voice caused the dark clouds in the sky to disperse. Opening its mouth, it sucked in an endless amount of lightning bolts into its body. Gu Fei could only feel his body tightening. He was also enveloped by that powerful devouring force. He then flew towards the gigantic mouth uncontrollably. "Humph, trying to devour me? Do you even have the capability?" Gu Fei said in a deep voice. He then waved his hands in front of him. A wave of energy rippled out from his hands, causing countless runes to appear in the sky. The devouring force that was coming from the mouth of the octopus was instantly neutralized by Gu Fei. With Gu Fei as the center, everything within a radius of 1,000 feet was calm and tranquil. "Human, hand over the God Palace and I will let you leave." A voice rang out in Gu Fei's mind. This octopus was sending a message to Gu Fei. "I can leave any time. Can you stop me?" Gu Fei said with an expressionless face. He directly soared into the sky and looked indifferently at the kraken below. Reckless. The strange octopus was infuriated. 8 tentacles immediately shot out and whipped towards Gu Fei. Each tentacle was larger than a mountain ridge, and there were runes circulating on the surface of the tentacles. The octopus monster used the power of the Great Tao as soon as it attacked. Of course, this power had not broken through the limits of the mortal world. Although it was infinitely close to the sage rank, it was still not the true power of the sage rank. If the mortal world didn't have the power of heaven's wrath, then Gu Fei would naturally turn around and leave upon encountering such a powerful opponent. One must know that a quasi-sovereign was incomparably powerful. It wasn't something that he could deal with. Moreover, using the Extreme Dao Saint artifact required time. By the time the Extreme Dao Saint artifact was fully activated, he would have died countless times. Buzz! When the 8 tentacles reached him, Gu Fei's body trembled, causing the void to tremble. A mass of chaotic divine light rushed out from his body. Those 8 incomparably huge tentacles directly slammed onto the layer of chaotic divine light around him. The power of chaos erupted, and the huge tentacles were sent flying away by Gu Fei's protective divine light. Swish! Gu Fei charged forward. With a single step, he instantly appeared above the head of the Kraken. He then stomped down with his foot. A powerful force came crashing down from his right foot, causing the void beneath his feet to collapse. This was a martial arts battle technique, the 8 killing steps, 8 steps 8 kills. The Kraken monster was taken aback. It didn't expect this puny human to be so strong. By the time it realized this, it was already too late. At this moment, one of the tentacles of the Kraken monster transformed into a huge hand and slapped upwards, welcoming the right foot of Gu Fei. Boom! With a loud noise, the mountain-like palm blocked Gu Fei's right foot. 2 powerful forces collided. This was a very strange scene. The giant hand of the Kraken monster was bigger than a mountain, blocking the sky. Compared to this giant hand, Gu Fei's entire body was too small. However, such a small human was able to resist this incomparably huge hand. You have some ability. After saying that, Gu Fei took a second step. A terrifying power formed beneath his feet before erupting outwards. Countless runes appeared beneath his feet, intertwining with one another. It was as though a primal divine sun had appeared beneath his feet. A supreme power directly shattered the void space around him. 8 killing steps, 8 killing steps. The power of the second step was at least twice as strong as the first step, while the power of the third step was several times stronger than the second step. When Gu Fei took the second step, the giant hand of the Kraken monster suddenly exploded. Flesh and blood splattered everywhere. The sky looked like it was raining blood. At this level of cultivation, every drop of blood contained great power. The flesh and blood of a quasi-supreme being, to a certain extent, was comparable to a divine medicine. Roar! The Kraken monster roared. Its voice shook the sky. Cracks appeared in the surrounding void, spreading towards the distance like black lightning. Human, you have angered me! The Kraken monster staggered a few steps back. The giant hand that was crushed by Gu Fei's stomp was rapidly recovering. The flesh and bones that were blown away were all restored. The giant hand instantly reassembled, as if it had never been injured. So what if I've angered you? Gu Fei was a little amused. Could it be that this big guy had stayed at the bottom of the sea for too long, that it had turned stupid? Since they were enemies, they should just fight to the death. What's the point of talking so much nonsense? Are you going to say that the consequences will be severe? Gu Fei continued. You! The Kraken monster was enraged. Those 2 incomparably huge eyes shone with an incomparably fierce light. A ferocious aura spread out, and beams of blood light appeared around its body. You what you? If you want to fight, then fight. If not, I'm leaving. Gu Fei looked at the Kraken monster and said impatiently. Go to hell! The Kraken monster was enraged. A powerful force erupted from its body. Its body shrunk rapidly as it charged towards Gu Fei. Heh, this is getting interesting. Gu Fei laughed. His battle intent was like a rainbow. His long hair fluttered even though there was no wind. He then charged towards the Kraken monster. Boom! 2 fists collided fiercely. A powerful force erupted, causing a huge piece of the void to collapse. 2 figures crossed each other at high speed. Chapter 2467 A quasi-supreme being was different from an ordinary sage-level expert. This kind of existence had already touched that level, and could be said to have surpassed the shackles of the sage level. This Kraken's physical body was undoubtedly incomparably strong. It could even compete with Gu Fei's chaotic immortal martial body. Every single move it made was extremely powerful. However, what Gu Fei didn't know was that at this time, the Kraken was even more shocked than him. It couldn't imagine that a puny human could be so strong. A quasi-supreme being's physical body was definitely the strongest in the human world. Even a wholly venerable existence couldn't withstand a single punch from it. However, this puny human was not only not a wholly venerable, he wasn't even a great sage. Yet, his physical body was so strong that it defied the heavens. The Kraken could even sense a very weak immortal divinity aura coming from Gu Fei's body. Such an aura could only appear on a supreme being. Could this guy be pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? The more the Kraken thought, the more shocked it became. It saw with its own eyes that this human entered the underwater dragon palace and took it away. It also felt an extreme aura erupting in the underwater dragon palace. In fact, when Gu Fei appeared in this part of the sea, the Kraken had already sensed the existence of Gu Fei and the mountain and river cauldron. The reason why the Kraken didn't make a move and had been watching from the side was because it wanted to see if this human could break the seal of the underwater dragon palace. Originally, the Kraken thought that everything was under its control. It never expected that the underwater dragon palace that it had guarded for countless years would be taken away by this human. It couldn't understand how a puny human could have the ability to take away the underwater dragon palace. One should know that in the endless years, creatures that were much stronger than this human had found this place. None of them had succeeded. They couldn't break the seal of the underwater dragon palace at all. Boom! Dull sounds of collisions sounded continuously. The figures of Gu Fei and the Kraken moved quickly above the sea. Cracks that looked like black lightning constantly appeared in the sky above the sea. The self-recovery ability of space was very strong. The broken void would be instantly repaired by the power of the laws of heaven and earth. How can your fleshly body be this powerful? The Kraken said in a deep voice while attacking. Gu Fei's physique had already exceeded common sense. This was something that the Kraken couldn't understand. What does that have to do with you? Gu Fei blocked the Kraken's punch and said. At the same time, his right leg swept horizontally towards the Kraken's waist. However, the Kraken's 8 tentacles have all turned into arms. When the 8 arms move together, Gu Fei has a feeling that 2 fists can't defeat 8 arms. Bang! After a long battle, Gu Fei was punched on his left shoulder by the Kraken. His whole body couldn't help but fly away, feeling a sharp pain on his shoulder. All right. Gu Fei stabilized his body. His eyes flashed with a sharp light as he looked at the incoming Kraken. He hasn't felt pain for a long time. This Kraken is definitely a hard-to-come-by opponent. Of course, Gu Fei also knew that if it wasn't for the existence of Heaven's wrath, which sealed the octopus's quasi-supreme level cultivation, he wouldn't have been a match for it. No matter how heaven-defying Gu Fei is, the gap between a Saint Emperor and a quasi-supreme is absolutely insurmountable, even if Gu Fei has mastered the 9 secrets of Immortal Path. But now, he and the Kraken can't use their cultivation base above the Saint realm. They can only suppress their cultivation base to the limit allowed by the human world. In this way, Gu Fei has the confidence to fight the Kraken. Kill! Gu Fei's momentum suddenly soared. A chaotic divine light emerged from his body. In the next moment, he transformed into 3 heads and 6 arms. You have 8 hands, I have 6 arms. Let's see who is stronger. Gu Fei roared and rushed forward, fighting fiercely with the Kraken. 6 arms against 8 arms. The entire world was shaking. Wherever the 2 figures passed, the void would collapse and shatter, forming holes in the void. The 2 experts were too powerful. They didn't need to use their Saint Realm strength. They could easily break through the void with just their physical strength. 3 heads and 6 arms, this is... The Kraken was shocked. It has lived for countless years and achieved the Tao in ancient times. Its knowledge is extraordinary. This technique seems to be the technique of a divine ape born from heaven and earth. At this time, Gu Fei used the 3 heads and 6 arms technique. His combat strength multiplied. He immediately reversed the situation and forced the Kraken to retreat. "I'll return this punch to you." Gu Fei was unstoppable. After repelling the Kraken's attack with both fists, his other fist instantly landed on the Kraken's chest. The sound of bones breaking immediately came from the Kraken's body. "You!" The Kraken was sent flying while vomiting blood. "You what?" Gu Fei took a step forward. Tao patterns emerged under his feet. The distance between him and the Kraken shrank in an instant. It was as if he was traveling through the void. With just 1 step, he arrived in front of the Kraken. This was not the 8 steps extreme speed, but the technique he learned from the great barren divine ape, the shrinking mountain steps. This kind of great technique could display extreme speed. If this kind of great technique was cultivated to the highest realm, just 1 step would be enough to leave thousands of mountains behind. Boom! Gu Fei didn't hesitate. He punched with all his strength. 6 powerful fist energies erupted. The void in front of his fists collapsed instantly. Without any suspense, this kind of supreme power caused even the octopus monster to be shaken. It quickly retreated, not daring to face it head-on. The Kraken was sent flying again, vomiting blood. "Impossible, how could I lose?" The Kraken couldn't accept the fact that it was defeated by a puny human. This made it so depressed that it vomited 3 mouthfuls of blood. Roar! The Kraken tried its best to stabilize its body, then looked up to the sky and roared. 9 blood-colored Tao patterns emerged on its body. It was going to fight with Gu Fei. However, at that moment, 6 huge hands grabbed out from 6 different directions, sealing up the entire region. Every single hand was emitting terrifying energy ripples. The Kraken, who was about to fight with Gu Fei, was caught by the 6 giant hands. God knows how many bones in its body were broken in an instant. The power that it had just condensed was directly scattered. This is the great technique of the ancient barren divine ape. It finally recognized the secret technique that Gu Fei used. Although it was unwilling, it couldn't change anything. It never thought that it would be defeated so thoroughly. Roar! Chapter 2468. Gu Fei used the great desolate godly ape technique and the power of the unparalleled martial body to defeat the powerful octopus monster. However, the octopus monster that Gu Fei grabbed with his star-plucking hand directly shattered its head and broke through the void. Its primordial spirit immediately escaped into the primordial chaos. "Human, I will definitely come back for you." The moment the octopus monster's primordial spirit disappeared into the primordial chaos, a voice rang in Gu Fei's mind. Gu Fei could not help but be moved, because he knew that the seals set up by the Supremes of the ancient era would collapse soon. At that time, the power of heaven's wrath would disappear, and the octopus monster would have nothing to worry about, and could return as a quasi-Supremes. What a pity! Gu Fei shook his head. At that moment, the octopus monster's body revealed its true form. A giant blood-colored octopus floated in the air. Each of its 8 tentacles was larger than a mountain. Even though it was dead, the blood and chi in its body were still extremely powerful, and its origin energy had not dissipated. Gu Fei would naturally not miss out on such a powerful corpse. He took out the mountain and river cauldron and stored the octopus monster's body inside. The flesh and bones of a quasi-Supremes were definitely great medicines in the world. They were not any weaker than supreme-grade medicines. They were extremely precious, and could be used to concoct medicines. One should know that not everyone could obtain the blood of a quasi-Supremes. This kind of existence was extremely powerful, and each drop of blood contained an enormous amount of essence. It's time to go back. Even though he had offended a powerful enemy, Gu Fei had gained quite a lot from this trip. 7 quasi-immortal medicines, a dragon palace built by the ancient ancestor dragon, and the body of a quasi-Supremes. Any one of these 3 items would cause a stir in the cultivation world of the soaring dragon ancestral star. Any one of them would make everyone jealous. especially the 7 quasi-immortal spirit herbs and the ancient ancestral dragon's divine palace. These 2 things were something that even sages would fight over, let alone ordinary cultivators. Gu Fei used his maximum speed of 8 steps. With each step, he disappeared, and when he reappeared, he was thousands of miles away. With such speed, even the ancient golden-winged rock might not be able to catch up to him. After leaving the Dragon Palace, Gu Fei headed east. Along the way, he realized that there were very few islands in this region. All he could see was the vast ocean. It wasn't until he had walked 100,000 miles away that he finally sensed the presence of life. It was an island, an incomparably huge island. The island was verdant and full of life. Not far from the coast was a primitive forest. When Gu Fei set foot on the island, a loud roar came from the primitive forest. As soon as the beast roared, countless large birds flew out of the ancient forest. The forest was in chaos, and many fierce beasts fled in all directions. Rumble! At this moment, the depths of the primordial old forest shook. A whirlpool appeared in the depths of the primordial old forest. The countless huge birds that flew out of the primordial old forest were immediately swallowed by an incomparably strong devouring power. This is... Seeing this, Gu Fei's eyes lit up. He could vaguely see a huge mouth behind the whirlpool, swallowing countless large birds. There was an incomparably powerful wild beast eating, swallowing countless large birds in one gulp. Not even a feather was left behind. Gu Fei was standing on a mountain ridge next to the coast. Although he saw this scene, he couldn't figure out what kind of savage beast it was that had devoured countless birds. Just as Gu Fei was pondering, there was a sudden sound of water coming from the sea. He saw many silver-boned spurs rising from the sea, and a huge silver creature was approaching the coast. Soon, the silver big guy walked out of the sea. It was a lizard that was covered in a thick layer of silver scales. However, unlike ordinary lizards, this lizard had a row of thick boned spurs on its back. Gu Fei counted, there were 18 boned spurs on the back of the lizard. The bone spurs near the head and tail were shorter than the ones in the middle. After this big guy crawled out of the sea, it directly entered the primitive forest. Wherever it passed, trees kept falling. Even the towering ancient trees were directly smashed by this big guy's claws. The forest was in chaos again. Why are there so many powerful wild beasts on this island? Gu Fei looked at the big lizard in the primitive forest and couldn't help but mutter to himself. Of course, this kind of wild beast was not a threat to him. One must know that even the kraken was not a match for him, let alone these wild beasts. However, for ordinary cultivators, these wild beasts were definitely a nightmare. Just as Gu Fei was planning to go deep into the island to take a look, a loud eagle cry came from afar. A golden shadow flashed in the distant sky and disappeared into the depths of the island. Could it be that the legendary golden-winged rock is entrenched here? Gu Fei looked at the golden shadow that disappeared into the depths of the island, and his face couldn't help but become a little solemn. The golden-winged rock was an extremely powerful ferocious bird from the ancient times. Above the heaven realm, the golden-winged rock race still existed. However, there was no pure-blooded golden-winged rock in the heaven realm. Gu Fei vaguely felt that this island might be hiding some secrets. Swoosh! He directly soared into the sky from the mountain ridge and stepped into the depths of the island. With just a few steps, he disappeared at the end of the horizon. Along the way, all Gu Fei could see were scenes of desolation. There were incomparably huge savage beasts roaring, their voices shaking the heavens and earth. There were also powerful savage beasts fighting, causing the entire forest to shake. High up in the sky, the silhouettes of ferocious birds appeared and disappeared. In the mountain ridge, wild beasts ran amok, and ferocious birds wreaked havoc in the sky. Entering such an island made Gu Fei feel as if he had returned to the ancient times. Roar! Just as Gu Fei flew over a lake, a loud roar came from the lake. Then, a huge figure broke out of the water and pounced towards Gu Fei. You're courting death. Gu Fei didn't dodge. He directly stomped down with his right foot, and an incomparably strong force was immediately generated. Bang! He stomped on the head of the wild beast that was charging up from below, and the beast's head directly caved in. Chapter 2469. On an incomparably large island, wild beasts and ferocious birds were running amok. It was as if the primordial world had reappeared. This shocked Gu Fei. After killing a giant beast with a stomp, he stopped. The giant beast's corpse fell into the lake below, and the lake water was dyed red with blood. It was a soaring serpent. This kind of creature belonged to the serpent species, but it was different from normal serpents. The soaring serpent had a pair of godly wings on its back. It could soar into the sky and roam the world. This lake was the territory of the soaring serpent. Seeing that a creature dared to fly above its head, the soaring serpent was enraged. It wanted to swallow Gu Fei alive. Unfortunately, the soaring serpent failed to swallow Gu Fei alive. Its head was crushed by Gu Fei's foot, and it died. This smell. Just as Gu Fei was about to leave, he suddenly smelled an extremely faint fragrance in the air. It was a medicinal fragrance. Even though it was very faint, it made Gu Fei feel refreshed. Gu Fei noticed that there was a small island in the middle of the lake below, and the medicinal fragrance was coming from the small island at the center of the lake. I didn't think that there would be a rare divine medicine growing here. Gu Fei was a little surprised. It wasn't strange for there to be a divine medicine on a desolate island. This was because this island was full of vitality, and the spiritual energy was much denser than other places. Moreover, Gu Fei felt that there were a few places on this island that were emitting powerful spiritual energy. Whoosh! Gu Fei descended from the sky and landed on the small island in the middle of the lake. This is... Gu Fei was shocked when he saw the stalk of godly herb, because the stalk of spiritual herb had actually taken root in the eye of fire in the middle of the island at the heart of the lake. It was a fire eye with a radius of about 10 zhang. Inside the fire eye was tumbling lava, and the godly herb was rooted in the lava, breathing in and out the pure fire qi of the earth vein. Water and fire coexist, this place. Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. It seemed that the soaring serpent didn't stay here for the divine medicine. This place was a treasure ground of yin and yang. Water was yin, fire was yang. In the middle of the lake, there was a fire eye. Yin and yang mixed together and nurtured fortune. The soaring serpent wanted to obtain the treasure that was nurtured in this treasure ground. The divine herb that had taken root in the fire eye was a rare fire lotus. This fire lotus had probably been growing in the fire eye for at least several thousand years. Although it was only a foot tall, the fire-type spiritual energy contained within it was incomparably powerful. Around the fire eye, there was a simple formation set up by the soaring dragon. Such a formation was naturally not difficult for Gu Fei. He easily removed the Tao markings that were imprinted around the fire eye, before walking in with a single step. Gu Fei arrived above the fire eye and extended his hand to pluck the fire lotus. Just as his palm was about to touch the fiery lotus that was rooted in the magma, his heart suddenly moved. At this moment, a scarlet flame instantly broke through the magma and pierced towards the center of his eyebrows. Gu Fei tilted his head and dodged the ray of light. Then, he grabbed the ray of light with his right hand. It was a tail that looked like a red spear. It was covered in red scales and emitted waves of heat. Come out! Gu Fei shouted and pulled out the living being that was hiding in the magma. At the same time, he extended his left hand and plucked the fire lotus that was rooted in the magma. Roar! A furious roar resounded as an incomparably huge savage beast was pulled out of the magma by Gu Fei. This is... When Gu Fei saw the beast hiding in the magma, he could not help but be taken aback. It was a giant red snake with wings on its back and no claws. How could this be? Gu Fei's heart skipped a beat. This winged snake had a huge background. It was one of the 12 ancient mythical beasts, the soaring serpent. Just then, the soaring serpent whose tail was grabbed by Gu Fei had already turned around and opened its mouth wide, biting towards Gu Fei. The sharp teeth within its mouth were enough to send chills down one's spine. The savage beast that Gu Fei had pulled out from the magma flame was exactly the same as the soaring serpent, one of the 12 ancient divine beasts. Gu Fei did not dare to be careless. With a shake of his right hand, a tremendous force burst forth, and he swung the savage beast with all his might. With that, the beast could no longer bite Gu Fei. Roar! The beast struggled, and its roar shook the heavens and the earth. The entire mountain range shook under its roar. An almost transparent red flame appeared on its body, trying to burn Gu Fei to death. Within the almost transparent red flame, Tao patterns could be vaguely seen. This was a type of Tao fire that could burn everything in the world. Even the void was warped and destroyed by the heat. However, Gu Fei completely ignored this Tao fire. He grabbed the beast's tail and swung it around. Go! Gu Fei shouted. He loosened his grip and threw the beast towards a mountain beside the lake. Boom! With a loud bang, the crimson savage beast smashed into the mountain ridge. The towering mountain peak was broken in the middle and then fell from the sky. Rumble! Dust flew everywhere and chaos filled the sky. That savage beast directly smashed into a mountain peak and was then buried under the rubble. Isn't this the legendary soaring serpent? Gu Fei was a little taken aback when he saw this. One must know that every single one of the 12 great ancient divine beasts was exceptionally powerful. There was no way they would be so weak. Just as Gu Fei was pondering, the rubble beside the lake emitted rays of fire. The rocks and soil were melting and turning into lava. An extremely strong power of fire burst out. Countless rocks turned into a magma lake. A huge red snake with a pair of wings on its back crawled out of that magma lake. Whoosh! The red soaring serpent flapped its wings and immediately turned into a ray of fire. It charged towards Gu Fei. It was so fast that even Gu Fei could not help but be shocked. This savage beast was truly enraged. It was the king of this area, and the soaring dragon was merely a savage beast that it used to guard the gate. This little creature actually dared to offend it, and take away the divine medicine that it had been guarding for thousands of years. This caused it to go crazy. Boom! The soaring serpent rushed over murderously. It opened its mouth and spat out a mouthful of divine fire of the great path. The fire instantly covered the entire sky, turning the sky above the lake into a sea of fire. Within the fire, flame-shaped patterns appeared faintly. They emitted terrifying heat, burning the space until it collapsed and was annihilated. It was extremely frightening. The fire of the way of extreme yang is born from the place where yin and yang meet. Gu Fei muttered to himself. His eyes lit up. At the same time, a layer of chaotic divine light appeared on his body. Within the chaotic divine light, there were faint golden spots of divine light flashing. The fire of the way of extreme yang that came from all directions was immediately blocked by the layer of divine light that appeared on Gu Fei's body. It could not get close to him. Chapter 2470. On an uninhabited island, in a place where yin and yang converged and water and fire blended, Gu Fei encountered an extremely powerful beast. This beast was one of the 12 ancient mythological beasts, the soaring serpent. The soaring serpent was the spirit of fire. No one knew why it had appeared here, because such a place could not have given birth to such a mythological beast. Rumble! At that moment, a great fire raged on the surface of the lake. The soaring serpent spat out a mouthful of young flames that enveloped Gu Fei. It wanted to burn Gu Fei to death. However, even the extreme yang wei fire could not pose any threat to Gu Fei. A layer of chaotic divine light surged from his body and blocked the wei fire from reaching him. This was natural flames of the wei, and the patterns within the flames were congenital patterns that had evolved from heaven and earth. Gu Fei knew that the soaring serpent had obtained an opportunity here. It had obtained the yang true fire that had been born from the place where yin and yang converged. It had refined it and integrated it into its source of power. Not everyone could encounter such an opportunity. Gu Fei did not feel that it was a pity, because divine items that were naturally born from heaven and earth could only be obtained by those who were fated. It was good enough that he had obtained a fire lotus. That fire lotus contained a yang fire essence, but it was also a rare divine medicine in the world. However, it was a pity that Gu Fei had no place to plant this fire lotus. It should be known that the fire lotus had to take root where the yang flames of the way were and absorb the yang fire essence in order to survive. However, Gu Fei had a feeling that there was still something in this place where fire and water blended that the soaring serpent had not obtained. At that moment, Gu Fei made a move. His large hand covered the sky and enveloped the yang flames of the way. He then refined all of them into the sky-covering hand. Even the Tao patterns that had been born naturally were destroyed by his large hand. This was the terror of the indestructible martial body of chaos. Every move had great power. The power of the martial body was so strong that it could almost crush everything. The soaring serpent was shocked and quickly retreated. However, after the large hand in the sky had destroyed the yang flames of the way, it turned and slapped down on the retreating soaring serpent. Bang! With a muffled sound, the huge hand fell. The soaring serpent suffered a great impact, and was directly smacked down from the sky by the huge hand. With a plop, it fell into the large lake below. The lake suddenly became steaming hot. The water in the lake seemed to be boiling, giving off steam and bubbles. The lake didn't evaporate. Gu Fei looked at the boiling lake below, and could not help but feel a little surprised. It should be known that the soaring serpent's body emitted the fire of the way of yang. This kind of fire of the way could theoretically burn everything in the world, even immortal divine materials. In the lake below, although the water level was dropping rapidly, it had not evaporated. The fire I gave birth to the supreme yang Tao fire. Could it be that the water I also gave birth to a divine substance that can contend against the supreme yang Tao fire? Gu Fei muttered to himself, and then his eyes lit up. Boom! Just as Gu Fei was pondering, the surface of the lake below suddenly exploded. A clump of fire broke through the surface of the water and shot up into the sky, arriving before Gu Fei. Who the hell are you? A wave of divine will came from the soaring serpent's body, and a voice sounded in Gu Fei's mind. The soaring serpent was shocked and angry. This was the first time it had encountered a powerful creature that could suppress it. Although there were other extremely powerful creatures on Savage Island, none of them could make it feel afraid. It had to be admitted that the creature in front of it terrified the soaring serpent. Have you never seen someone like me? Gu Fei asked the soaring serpent, feeling a little strange. This was a communication between divine wills. There was no need for words, and the other party could understand what he meant. This was the most direct communication. It was as if there was a voice in the other party's mind. No, I haven't. The soaring serpent thought about it and said, Have you never left this island? Gu Fei looked at the soaring serpent opposite him, paying attention to its reaction. Leave this place? Why do I have to leave this place? Give me back my things. The soaring serpent stared at Gu Fei and said. The extreme yang flames on its body rose. As it flapped its wings, countless Tao patterns flowed on its wings. You mean this divine medicine? As Gu Fei spoke, he flipped his right hand and a divine medicine that seemed to be dancing with divine flames appeared in his hand. Wisps of fire chi curled around the divine medicine. This thing is called the divine medicine. The soaring serpent looked at the fire lotus divine medicine in Gu Fei's hand with a blank look in its eyes. It did not seem to know what the fire lotus divine medicine was, but it had instinctively protected this fire lotus divine medicine for thousands of years. This fellow did not seem to know anything. Gu Fei was shocked to find that the soaring serpent seemed very innocent. This is called a divine medicine. I have many of these things. If you listen to me, I will return this divine medicine to you. I will also give you more divine medicines, Gu Fei said with a smile. Are you telling the truth? The soaring serpent's eyes lit up when it heard this. As soon as it was born, the fire lotus had already taken root in the fire-eye magma. It knew very well that the fire lotus contained a huge amount of essence chi. Now that it heard Gu Fei say that he would give it more divine medicines like the fire lotus, it was as happy as a child. The hostility on its body disappeared immediately. This fellow seemed to be easier to trick than he had imagined. Gu Fei had not expected the soaring serpent to be so easy to deal with. Although the fire lotus divine medicine was rare, it was nothing to him. If he could use a fire lotus divine medicine to trick a powerful creature with limitless potential who could even become an existence like the 12 ancient divine beasts, it would be worth it for Gu Fei. Of course it's true. Why would I lie to you? As Gu Fei spoke, the stalk of divine medicine in his hand flew up and flew towards the soaring serpent. You are a good person. The soaring serpent happily opened its mouth and swallowed the fire lotus divine medicine into its body. It did not want to eat the divine medicine, it wanted to hide it inside its body. Next, under Gu Fei's guidance, Gu Fei quickly found out what he wanted to know. It turned out that this soaring serpent was not the ancient divine beast that dominated the heavens and earth. It was a descendant of the soaring serpent. This soaring serpent was a creature born from a divine egg. In ancient times, a peerless expert of the flying serpent clan had placed the divine egg into one of the fire eyes when the great calamity arrived. It had been nourished by the extreme young Tao fire in the fire eyes for countless years. This soaring serpent was only born a few thousand years ago. Chapter 2471. After taming this soaring serpent, Gu Fei was in a good mood. One should know that this soaring serpent was a pure-blooded soaring serpent, a descendant of an ancient divine beast. If a pure-blooded soaring serpent were to fully mature, it would be able to slay a saint. This soaring serpent was actually equivalent to an 8 or 9-year-old human child. It was very innocent and easy to fool. Otherwise, it would be difficult for Gu Fei to tame this soaring serpent. Ancient divine beasts had a long lifespan. This soaring serpent was still in its infancy, and was far from fully maturing. Even so, Gu Fei felt that it was worth it. He already had a plan in mind to raise a divine beast. Are you looking for something? At this moment, the soaring serpent saw Gu Fei wandering around on the lake, seemingly trying to sense something. It was very happy that Gu Fei was willing to return the fiery lotus to it. You probably wouldn't understand even if I told you. Gu Fei nodded. Who says I don't know? The soaring serpent said proudly. What? You know? Gu Fei was a little surprised. Of course. Those guys on the island often come here and disturb my training. I hate them and even fought with them. The soaring serpent said. You can chase those annoying guys away. Gu Fei couldn't help but look at the soaring serpent in a new light. Those guys on the island were extremely powerful. They were definitely the strongest beasts and birds in the human world. Are you doubting my combat strength? The soaring serpent was a little unhappy. No, why would I doubt your combat strength? I'm just a little surprised. Gu Fei quickly said. I'm very powerful. The soaring serpent said with its head held high. I know. You're invincible. Then tell me, where's the thing I'm looking for? The soaring serpent's innocent nature was easily tricked by Gu Fei. After being praised by Gu Fei, the soaring serpent immediately became complacent. Ever since I was born, I sensed a very annoying force nearby. The thing you're looking for should be that thing, right? Soaring serpent said after some thought. As it turned out, there was a water hole hidden at the bottom of the lake. It was the water hole of the lunar true water. This was the divine substance derived from the place where water and fire converged. Extreme Yang Dao flame and extreme Yin true water, these two divine treasures could only be chanced upon by luck. Especially for fire and water element cultivators, if they were able to obtain these two divine treasures, then they would be able to transform their physiques, allowing them to cultivate with twice the results with half the effort, and they would even have the possibility of becoming a supreme being. A long time ago, Gu Fei had come up with a plan, which was to have 5 disciples with metal, wood, water, fire, and earth constitutions. Now, his eldest disciple, Gu Zhong, had the metal element martial body. Although Qilong was a fire element true dragon, unfortunately, he was not a human. It was impossible for him to cultivate a martial body and become a martial artist. The third disciple, Yao Yu, had a water element martial body, but her cultivation was much inferior to Gu Zhong, Qilong, and the others. If she had the lunar true water, Yao Yu's cultivation would increase very quickly. Gu Fei was determined to obtain the lunar true water. Without hesitation, after the soaring serpent told Gu Fei the exact location, Gu Fei immediately took action. He opened up the water channel, entered the lake, and headed for the water hole. The soaring serpent seemed to have a natural hatred for the lunar true water. It did not enter the lake with Gu Fei, but returned to the fire hole on the small island in the lake. It had long been persuaded by Gu Fei to leave the savage island with Gu Fei and see the outside world. Before leaving, the soaring serpent had to make some preparations. There were still things to be taken from the fire hole. The divine substance derived from the place where yin and yang met was not as simple as the extreme yang Dao flame. At this time, Gu Fei had already entered 1,000 feet deep into the lake. The deeper he went, the more intense the cold qi became. In the end, the void seemed to be frozen by the cold qi. However, this degree of cold qi was nothing to Gu Fei. Soon, Gu Fei reached the bottom of the lake. There was no water hole at the bottom of the lake, but he could sense an extremely cold aura coming from under his feet. The water hole of the place where yin and yang met was not like the fire hole, which appeared directly on the ground. Instead, it was hidden in the depths of the bottom of the lake. One visible and one hidden, one yin and one yang. Interesting. Gu Fei smiled. The powerful aura that emanated from his body blocked all the surrounding lake water 3 feet away from him, making it difficult for him to get close. Then, he directly broke through the bottom of the lake. The moment Gu Fei broke through the bottom of the lake, an extremely powerful cold qi immediately leaked out from the bottom of the lake. In just an instant, the entire bottom of the lake was frozen. Then, the entire lake was frozen by the cold qi that leaked out from the bottom of the lake. Gu Fei was no exception. He was instantly frozen at the bottom of the lake, but the void within 3 feet of him was not frozen. What a powerful cold qi! Gu Fei felt the cold qi coming from all around him. The fact that he could feel the cold was enough to show how terrifying the cold qi that leaked out from the depths of the lake was. If it was an ordinary saint, he would probably have been frozen. The cold qi that was naturally produced by the world could freeze the world. What's happening? At this time, the soaring serpent in the depths of the fire hole was also startled. It was very surprised, but then it understood that it was probably caused by the big brother that it had just acknowledged. I have to hurry up too. The soaring serpent continued to attack, trying with all its might to take away an item in front of it. It was a piece of fist-sized godly metal that shone brightly. That piece of godly metal was covered with countless Dao patterns. Those were natural Dao patterns that were naturally produced by the world. They were ancient and mysterious. This was an immortal divine material that could be mentioned in the same breath as the metal of the 9 heaven stars. It seemed to contain the great path of the world, and there were Dao patterns circling around it. At the same time, Gu Fei directly used his absolute strength to break through the ice seal and continue deeper. After passing through the thick layer, he entered a huge space. In this space, time seemed to have stopped. The lunar water essence here was so thick that it was almost liquefied. In the center of this space, there was a ball of godly light floating. Within the godly light, there was actually the shadow of a dragon. What? When Gu Fei saw this dragon shadow, he couldn't help but be shocked. A weak aura of life came from the dragon's shadow in the ball of godly light. It's actually nurturing life. Gu Fei was extremely shocked. The dragon shadow in the ball of godly light was devouring the surrounding lunar water essence. It was like a beating heart, and the ball of godly light was flickering rhythmically. This is a great opportunity. Chapter 2472. In the depths of the earth, in a huge space, the lunar pure water essence was so thick that it was almost liquefied. However, this was not enough to shock Gu Fei. What really shocked Gu Fei was the fact that there was a ball of divine light, about 100 feet in diameter, floating in the void. Within the divine light, there was a vague shadow of a dragon, and a faint aura of life was emanating from it. That's right, Gu Fei could clearly sense the life aura coming from that dragon shadow. The creation of heaven and earth, the birth of life, this. Gu Fei was dumbfounded. He did not expect such a thing to be nurtured in the water eye of the earth. The ball of divine light was the innate Tao fetus, and the dragon shadow inside was the innate life form nurtured by the Tao fetus. However, to be precise, the dragon shadow nurtured in the divine light was not a real life form. It was just the beginning of a life. The dragon shadow was actually the condensation of the innate Tao pattern formed by the lunar pure water essence Qi. If given enough time, the dragon shadow and the innate Tao fetus could transform into a real life form and give birth to an innate lunar cold dragon. Unfortunately, Gu Fei didn't want to wait for a long period of time before plucking this fruit of the Tao that was born naturally. Without hesitation, Gu Fei opened the inner world in the mud pill palace between his eyebrows and began to absorb the lunar pure water essence Qi that filled this space. This energy could not appear in the inner world in the Dantian. It should be known that if this energy appeared in the divine land, it would freeze the entire divine land, and all the living creatures in the divine land would be frozen to death. However, the inner world in the mud pill palace between his eyebrows did not have any living creatures, so it was the most suitable place to absorb the lunar pure water essence Qi. At this time, the inner world in Gu Fei's mud pill palace had expanded to a radius of thousands of miles. Because the divine spring of life was nourishing this inner world, it was lush and full of vitality. However, there were very few living creatures in this inner world. There were only a dozen spiritual herbs planted around the divine spring of life. These spiritual herbs were obtained by Gu Fei in the past, so they were not rare spiritual herbs. However, after being nourished by the divine spring of life for thousands of years, some of these spiritual herbs had already turned into divine herbs. This was something that Gu Fei did not expect when he was planting the spiritual herbs. In fact, he rarely paid attention to the inner world he had opened up in his mud pill palace. He even rarely used the Hell Tao, because the inner world and the Hell Tao in his mud pill palace could not compare to the divine land he had refined into his Dantian. At this time, a large hole appeared in the sky above the inner world in Gu Fei's mud pill palace, and the lunar pure water essence Qi surged in through it. Soon, the thousands of miles of inner world was covered with a layer of white frost. Flowers, plants, and trees were all covered with frost, and there were icicles hanging down from the tree trunks. The streams and lakes were frozen, and an extremely cold aura enveloped the entire inner world. Outside the inner world, Gu Fei was doing his best to absorb the massive amount of lunar pure water essence Qi into the inner world in the mud pill palace between his eyebrows. The lunar pure water essence Qi in the lunar watery eye was rapidly decreasing. It was as if a bottomless black hole had appeared in front of Gu Fei, devouring the lunar pure water essence Qi from all directions. Several hours later, the lunar pure water essence Qi in the depths of the earth was completely absorbed by Gu Fei's inner world. Even the ball of divine light was absorbed by Gu Fei's inner world. Rumble! The inner world in Gu Fei's mud pill palace was shaking. A ball of divine light descended from the sky and floated in this corner of the world. The endless lunar pure water essence that originally filled this corner of the world immediately gathered from all directions and gathered around the ball of divine light. This congenital embryo of Tao was automatically swallowing the surrounding lunar pure water essence Qi. The entire inner world in Gu Fei's mud pill palace was frozen, except for the divine spring of life in the center of this space. The dozens of spirit herbs planted around the divine spring of life were also spared from being frozen. After absorbing the lunar pure water essence Qi, cracks immediately appeared on the surface of the water eye. Then, with a loud boom, the entire ground collapsed. Gu Fei soared into the sky, broke through the collapsed ground, and rushed out from the depths of the earth. Rumble! The frozen lake shook violently. Then, a figure broke through the thousands of feet thick ice and rushed out from the bottom of the lake. The divine substance produced by the place where fire and water met was taken away by Gu Fei. This was equivalent to breaking the balance of this place and causing a great disaster. The lake caved in, and a series of bottomless fissures appeared on the ground. Nearby mountains collapsed one after another, and the area within a radius of thousands of miles was shaken. Such a movement was immediately sensed by several powerful creatures on the desolate island. Swoosh! A golden light rushed out from a towering mountain in the depths of the desolate island and flew towards the place where fire and water met. In the golden light, there was a big golden bird. Roar! In another region, an earth-shattering roar came from an abyss filled with murderous aura. A silver-colored creature rushed out of the abyss and disappeared into the void. Boom! Thousands of miles away from the area where Gu Fei was, a mountain suddenly exploded. A powerful creature hidden in the black gas rushed out and instantly disappeared into the void. At this time, in the place where fire and water met, countless ferocious birds and wild beasts were scrambling to escape. Even the extremely powerful wild beasts were no exception. They were all fleeing from this area. Roar! At this time, a roar came from the fire eye. The soaring serpent rushed out of the fire eye. At the moment when the soaring serpent rushed out, the entire fire eye also collapsed. Water and fire collided, forming the four original powers of earth, water, wind, and fire. The area was collapsing and collapsing. The power of water and fire was completely out of control. Little serpent, hand over the thing in the fire eye. At this time, a divine thought came from afar. Then, a golden light flashed in the void at an extremely fast speed. In an instant, it arrived nearby and pressed towards the soaring serpent. You again. When the soaring serpent saw the newcomer, it was instantly enraged. It was a big golden bird. Golden light flowed around its body as if it was cast from pure gold. There were golden runes faintly visible on its body. This is... Chapter 2473. Rumble. The heavens and earth shook. That golden bird was extremely powerful. It hovered in the sky like a golden sun, radiating golden light. Within the golden light, golden runes could be faintly seen. This was an extremely powerful, ferocious bird. It displayed the limits of the human world, but it did not exceed the limits of the human world. The golden bird was in a very mysterious state. It was between a sacred bird and a quasi-sacred bird. Its powerful aura spread out, covering a radius of 100,000 miles. Even the most ferocious beasts in the depths of the mountain were speechless at this moment. They were all terrified to the extreme, as if the end of the world had come. Boom! At this moment, a bright divine flame appeared on the soaring serpent's body. It stared at the golden bird in the sky, and a cold, murderous aura spread out from its body. You're just a little worm. You dare to act fierce in front of me? The golden bird transmitted its divine sense. It did not seem to care about the soaring serpent at all. Humph, I wonder who dared to come here and act wildly before. Who chased them away? The soaring serpent said coldly. It stared at the golden bird in the sky. Its eyes flickered with an ominous glint. Fire runes flowed on its body, and there was a kind of Tao lingering around it. Humph, I didn't kill you last time because I wanted you to protect this place. Now you actually dared to destroy this place. What's the point of keeping you alive? The golden bird was also filled with murderous aura. One should know that the divine substance nurtured in the land of fire and water was something that even a sacred-level existence would covet. This golden bird had long been thinking about the divine substance nurtured in this divine land. However, the divine substance was still in the process of nurturing and had not reached the level of perfection. The divine substance was lacking. This was the reason why the golden bird did not attack the soaring serpent. In fact, the giants on the desolate island were all staring at this treasured land. At this moment, a mass of black chi rushed over from afar. Within the black chi, a figure could be faintly seen. Another giant of the desolate island had arrived. Powerful energy waves spread out in all directions. The entire world seemed like it was going to collapse. The creature in the black chi was extremely powerful. You're here too. The soaring serpent also recognized the creature within the black gas. Not good, these guys had all jumped out. This was definitely not a good thing for it. At this time, Gu Fei looked at this scene coldly. Just as the creature hidden in the black chi arrived, a silver light flashed in another direction. A ray of silver light rushed over from the distance, and everywhere it passed by, the space trembled. A powerful aura spread out, causing all the beasts in the area to tremble. This was a silver-colored creature that was covered in a thick layer of silver scales. There were rays of silver light swirling around it, and its blood-colored eyes scanned the surroundings, causing one's heart to palpitate. Damn, there are actually 3 such powerful creatures on this savage island. Gu Fei was slightly surprised. These 3 creatures were actually Saint Realm beings. If it wasn't for the fact that the power of heaven's wrath still existed in the mortal world, these 3 creatures would have no choice but to seal their Saint Realm cultivations. Otherwise, the entire world would probably be unable to endure their existences. Why is there another little guy? The silver creature stared at Gu Fei, a bloody light flashing in its eyes. There are no humans on this island. Could this human have come from the outside world? Within the black chi, 2 green spots of light shone out. The creature that was hidden in the black mist was mumbling to itself. Every single living being of the Saint Realm was in existence that had lived for countless of years. The knowledge of these living beings wasn't something that the soaring serpent could compare with. The creature hidden in the black mist had already figured out Gu Fei's background. How many years has it been? To think that there would be another human who would come to this island. Since you're here, there's no need for you to leave anymore. The words of the silver creature were extremely cold as its blood-red eyes scanned Gu Fei from left to right. I only want that thing on this little worm. I don't care about anything else. The golden bird replied. Its attention was focused on the soaring serpent the entire time, and it did not even bother to look at Gu Fei once. In its eyes, this puny little human was nothing. It could just ignore him completely. Humph! A cold laugh rang out from within the black mist. Who wouldn't covet something on the soaring serpent's body? To think that the golden bird wanted to keep it all for itself. Dream on! You want the supreme young legendary item while I want the extreme true water. Little worm, don't tell me that you're even going to take away the extreme true water? The silver creature looked over at the soaring serpent and said, Are you guys really going to treat me as if I don't exist? At this moment, the creature hidden in the black mist spoke up. Big bird, how about we join forces? The silver creature looked up at the golden bird in the sky and said, Not interested. The golden bird rejected immediately. There was no way it would join forces with anyone else. After all, it couldn't trust these guys at all. The only person it could trust was itself. Hee hee. The silver creature chuckled out and said nothing more. This is infuriating. Do you guys really think that I'm a pushover? At this moment, the soaring serpent spoke up. To think that these guys wouldn't even take it seriously. This was something that had it both shocked and enraged. It wasn't arrogant enough to think that it could take on the 3 powerful beings of the barren island all by itself. The ground was still collapsing and shaking. Mountains continued to crumble and crumble. The mountains were in a mess. It was as terrifying as the end of the world. However, such a scene was nothing in the eyes of Gu Fei and the others. Little worm, your background isn't simple. It's mine now. As the creature in the black mist spoke, it made its move. The black mist surged and condensed into a giant hand that grabbed at the soaring serpent. Boom! Boom! The giant hand instantly grew larger, covering the entire sky. Above the giant hand, countless runes appeared, weaving together into mysterious Tao diagrams. Go to hell, all of you! The soaring serpent was truly angry. Its temperament was very simple. As long as it was an enemy, it would kill them directly. As it flapped its wings, rays of fire rushed out from them, turning into divine spears that pierced towards the giant hand that was grabbing down from the sky. Every divine spear was condensed from the special Tao patterns of the Soaring Serpent clan, and was extremely powerful. Moreover, the Soaring Serpent had refined the yang flames of the way of the land of water and fire, making its magic even more terrifying and powerful. The power it displayed was even more terrifying. Humph, you're just an ant trying to shake a tree. What's the use? The creature in the black mist sneered. The giant hand trembled, and the power it unleashed instantly multiplied. It actually shattered the divine spears of fire that were piercing towards it. Bang! The giant hand descended. The soaring serpent cried out in surprise as it was knocked down from the sky by the giant hand. Saint-level creatures were extremely powerful. Even if they couldn't undo their seals and restore their cultivation, they were still not something that the soaring serpent could contend with. The soaring serpent smashed into the chaotic ground below. The power of the earth, water, fire, and wind swallowed it up in an instant. It's been a long time since I've eaten humans. I really miss the delicious human blood. The silver creature grinned hideously as it walked towards Gu Fei. It was a humanoid creature, but its entire body was covered in a layer of silver scales. It had a pair of blood-red eyes. Its body was enveloped by a powerful aura of malice. Within that aura, figures could be seen faintly. This was the manifestation of the resentment of countless living beings that had been killed by this creature. It was hard to imagine how many living beings this silver creature had killed to be able to gather such a powerful aura of malice. Since you want to die, I'll grant your wish. Gu Fei looked at the silver creature that was walking towards him step by step and suddenly smiled. Ha ha! The silver creature couldn't help but laugh when it heard this. It was as if it had heard the funniest thing in the world. This puny human actually said that he wanted to kill it? At this moment, the aura on Gu Fei's body was completely retracted. No one could see through him at all. Not even the 3 saint-level creatures. Ever since Gu Fei had cultivated the all-powers return to origin technique imparted to him by the mountain and river cauldron, no one could see through him anymore. Even those with a higher cultivation state than him were no exception. Your courage is commendable. To think that you would dare to say something as such in front of me. As the silver creature spoke, it had already arrived before Gu Fei. It was curious. To think that this human didn't show any signs of panic when facing it. Could this guy have been scared silly by it? What's there to be afraid of? Gu Fei expressionlessly looked at the silver creature in front of him. He was extremely calm. At this moment, the silver creature hadn't expected that this puny human would be this calm even in the face of death. Could it be that this human knew that he was about to die and was willing to go all out? Living beings like the human race were really weird. Some of them were afraid of death. For the sake of survival, they would resort to unscrupulous methods. In fact, they would even strike out at their own kind. However, there were some humans who were unafraid of death. For the sake of others, they could even throw away their own lives. Very well. I'll let you die a quick death. As the silver creature spoke, it reached out with its sharp claws and grabbed at the top of Gu Fei's head. Suddenly, Gu Fei raised his head. His eyes shone brightly as he looked at the face of the silver creature. Within his eyes there were some doubt patterns that seemed to be weaving together. What? The silver creature was taken aback. To think that this human's eyes would be so blinding that it could barely open its eyes. *T. In the next moment, the silver creature felt a chill rise up its back. It couldn't help but shiver, and then it directly retreated. This human before it wasn't simple at all. It had been too careless. However, at this moment, Gu Fei made his move. With just a single step, he appeared before the silver creature. His body was practically plastered onto the body of the silver creature. Roar! The silver creature was truly taken aback right now. It howled out in rage as it clawed out at the human before it. On its sharp claws, 10 beams of light that were as sharp as swords shot out, tearing the void apart. However, before the silver creature's claws could even reach Gu Fei's body, Gu Fei's fist had already landed on the chest of the silver creature. Ugh! Chapter 2474. What? The silver living being could not have imagined that this puny little human before it would be this strong. To think that he could punch through its body with a single punch. How could this be? The golden bird and the mysterious living being within the black mist were completely dumbfounded by this scene. They knew very well that the silver living being's cultivation state and battle prowess was no weaker than theirs. You think that you're all high and mighty. But to think that you're the one who's actually an ant, huh? Gu Fei remarked. Just then, his right arm jerked as an incomparably strong force burst forth from his arm. Bam! The silver living being's body exploded into a cloud of blood mist. Even someone as strong as it couldn't even fight back against Gu Fei at all. The physical body of a sage-state living being was so strong that it was unimaginable. It could even go against a sage weapon. However, Gu Fei was able to shatter the physical body of a sage-state living being with ease. This fella, the golden bird and the mysterious living being within the black mist could not help but feel extremely shocked at this scene. Never in their wildest dreams would they have imagined that this human that they had completely ignored would actually be a supreme powerful being. It was only at this moment that they came to a realization. Since this human could appear here, how could he possibly be weak? If he were, he would have been killed by the soaring serpent a long time ago. Still trying to escape? Just then, Gu Fei hollered out. Reaching out with his right hand, he grabbed a ball of silver light that had rushed out of the blood mist. The silver light wrapped around a tiny figure. This was the spirit of the silver living being. Even if an existence of this level were to have its physical body destroyed and turned into a blood mist, it wouldn't die that easily. The only way to truly kill a living being like this was to sever its spirit. "Don't kill me!" Within the silver light, the tiny figure emitted a wave of consciousness. An extremely horrified voice rang out in Gu Fei's mind. Too late. Gu Fei remained unmoved. He directly crushed the ball of silver divine light in his hand. Pop! The figure in the ball of light dissipated. Just like that, Gu Fei easily destroyed the silver holy stage creature in both body and soul. The golden bird could not help but gasp at the sight of this. Even the mysterious creature hidden in the black mist was extremely shocked. You! When the golden bird saw Gu Fei's gaze sweeping over it, it couldn't help but be angered. It initially thought that a puny human could be squashed to death with a single finger. However, who would have thought that this puny human was actually pretending to be a pig to eat a tiger? Fellow Taoist, your methods are impressive. The golden bird stared at Gu Fei and said. The golden light emitted from its eyes was dozens of feet long. Boom! At this moment, a muffled sound suddenly came from below. A ray of fire broke through the layers of water, fire, and wind directly rushed out from the ground. Big brother, help me kill them all. The soaring serpent came to Gu Fei's side and spoke to Gu Fei with a murderous look in his eyes. Divine flames rose all over his body, and the aura of the extreme Yang Wei fire spread from his body. That's easy. Gu Fei nodded. Friend, we have no grudges against each other in the past. Why must we fight each other to the death? The golden bird said. This human was ridiculously powerful, and it did not want to fight him. After all, the silver holy stage creature was killed by a single punch from this human. Humph, you're afraid. Hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy. Perhaps I can ask my big brother to spare your lives. The soaring serpent said loudly. It already knew what had just happened. The big brother that it recognized was so powerful that he could kill the silver holy stage creature with a single punch. With such a powerful big brother, there was nowhere in the human realm that it could not go. Humph. A cold snicker came from within the black mist. However, the creature in the black mist did not say anything. Instead, a powerful intent to fight emanated from within the black mist. What, you want to fight my big brother? Come, come, come. Let me see what you're made of first. With Gu Fei's support, the soaring serpent straightened its back and directly challenged the creature in the black mist. If you're courting death, I'll grant you your wish. A cold voice rang out from within the black mist. The creature that was hidden within the black mist was enraged. A chilling killing intent appeared between the heaven and earth. Under the impact of this killing intent, the surrounding temperature plunged rapidly. TSK, come at me if you've got what it takes. See if I don't beat the sh*t out of you with a single punch. The soaring serpent said arrogantly. Sure. The moment the words of the soaring serpent were heard, a dark beam of light pierced through the black mist and slashed out at the soaring serpent. In the blink of an eye, it had arrived before the soaring serpent. The soaring serpent was taken aback. With a single thought, a series of fire patterns burst forth from its body, forming a shield of fire in front of it. That dark beam of light cleaved down on the shield of fire that was made up of fire patterns. Instantly, it broke through the shield of fire and struck the body of the soaring serpent. The soaring serpent cried out in a weird manner. Blood splashed out as it was sent flying thousands of feet away by the dark beam of light. A few feet long wound appeared on its body, as though it had been slashed by a godly weapon. You! The soaring serpent was both shocked and furious. It originally thought that it would be able to exchange a few blows with the person in the black mist. It did not expect that the other party would almost cut it in half. Only now did it realize how big of a gap there was between it and these leaders. The golden bird was not lying. If these people wanted to kill it, it would be as easy as blowing off dust. Seeing this, Gu Fei's heart trembled. These people were not weak. The person in the black mist was definitely much stronger than the silver creature. Big brother! The soaring serpent rushed over from afar. Like a wronged child, it wanted Gu Fei to stand up for it. Friend, I think it's best if you don't interfere with the matters of the deserted island. The voice of the golden bird was heard. Like an ancient golden crow, its entire body shone with golden light. It looked like a golden sun hanging high in the sky. You hurt my brother. I have no choice but to interfere. Gu Fei walked forward. Like before, his body did not emit any sort of energy. He looked just like a normal living being. However, nobody dared to look down on him. Humph, what's the point of spouting so much bullshit? This human just wants to get his hands on the treasure that was born from this place. Within the black mist, the mysterious living being spoke coldly. As it spoke, the mysterious living being made a move. The black mist rumbled as a gigantic hand appeared in the sky. With a terrifying amount of energy, it slapped towards Gu Fei. Then let's fight. Chapter 2475. Rumble. A great battle erupted. A pitch-black hand instantly enveloped the entire world before slamming downwards. Terrifying ripples of energy radiated from the hand. The entire world suddenly turned into a pitch-black night. It was actually sealed off by the hand, isolating it from the outside world. The creature in the black mist did not dare to be careless. It used its full strength. Of course, it did not dare to exceed the limits allowed by the human world. However, existences like this all possess some kind of secret technique that allowed them to enter a wondrous state. They seemed to be able to unleash the battle prowess of a saint at any time. The soaring serpent's expression changed when it saw that the opponent was able to cover the sky with one hand. The strength of the opponent had already exceeded its imagination. The lord of the barren island was not someone with an undeserved reputation. The powerful aura from the creature in the black mist made the soaring serpent's heart palpitate. Break! At this moment, Gu Fei bellowed and punched upwards with all his strength. Chaotic force erupted from his body and gathered towards his right fist. Buzz! As Gu Fei punched, the entire space began to tremble, producing a rumbling sound. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared around his fist. Boom! It was as if a chaotic divine sun had appeared in the sky as Gu Fei's fist collided with the black hand that had enveloped the entire world. With a loud sound, the black hand shook violently. Black runes directly collapsed in the air. A huge hole appeared in the center of the palm from Gu Fei's punch. The black hand was collapsing, and the huge hole that was blasted open by Gu Fei was expanding. Countless runes were being annihilated in the void. With just one punch, Gu Fei had broken the shocking technique unleashed by the creature in the black mist, and the entire world was restored to its original brightness. What? The creature in the black mist was extremely shocked. It never thought that its technique would be broken so easily. This human was much more powerful and terrifying than it had imagined. Shua! At this moment, Gu Fei took a step forward, displaying his extreme speed of 8 steps. In an instant, he appeared in front of the black fog in the sky. Then, he stretched out his hand and slapped towards the black fog. A giant chaotic hand appeared in the void. Before the hand could actually slap the black mist, the mist dissipated, and a pitch-black creature appeared indistinctly in the mist. When Gu Fei saw the creature, he was taken aback. To think that there would be such a strange creature in this world. The creature looked like a huge meatball, with tentacles growing out of its body and a black aura lingering around it. Gu Fei had never seen such a creature before. Roar! The creature let out a furious roar that shook the sky. A large amount of black gas surged out of its body, and the creature's body disappeared into the black gas. Bang! The chaos hand slapped down, sending the creature hiding in the black mist flying thousands of feet away by Gu Fei's attack. That's all, Gu Fei replied calmly. Damn it! The creature howled out repeatedly. As a powerful being of the island, this creature ruled over an entire area. With a single thought, it could decide the life and death of every single living being on the island other than the other two powerful beings. To think that it would be suppressed by a human at this moment. This was a reality that it could not accept. Kill! As though it had gone berserk, the creature bolted out at Gu Fei. An endless amount of black gas gushed out of the creature's body, covering the entire world. Yes! Suddenly, Gu Fei could no longer sense the existence of the creature. It was as though the creature had disappeared into thin air. Void technique. Gu Fei's heart skipped a beat as he shifted tens of feet to the side. Bang! With a muffled sound, the moment Gu Fei shifted to the side, the void he was in collapsed. A tentacle pierced through the void. If not for the fact that he had shifted to the side, Gu Fei might have been entangled by this tentacle that had suddenly pierced through the void. It really is the void technique. Could this creature be the legendary void beast? Gu Fei mumbled to himself. He immediately used the anti-void technique. At the next moment, chaotic Tao patterns appeared on his body. His entire body became blurry, as though he was about to merge into the void. Under the state of using the anti-void technique, Gu Fei could sense the slightest changes in the void around him. He could grasp the pulse of the void. At this moment, he caught sight of the illusory figure of the creature within the black mist moving towards him at a rapid speed, traversing through the void. Even Gu Fei couldn't do something as such for the time being. However, this creature had managed to do it. This was enough to prove that this creature's understanding of the Tao of Void was even deeper than Gu Fei's. All techniques returned to truth. Without hesitation, Gu Fei deployed this great skill that was imparted to him by the mountain and river cauldron. A surge of Tao power spread out from Gu Fei's body. The creature that was approaching Gu Fei fell out of the void. How could this be? The creature was truly taken aback right now. One must know that the void technique was its signature move. To think that it would be broken by this human. This fella. It was only at this moment that the creature realized that this human was way scarier than it had imagined. It had made a mistake in its judgment. Bam! The void beast was sent flying back while spitting out blood by Gu Fei's attack. There was no longer any suspense in the battle that followed. Under the power of Gu Fei's all techniques returned to truth, the void beast found it hard to escape into the void. It had lost its greatest trump card. Eventually, the void beast's physical body was destroyed by Gu Fei, and its soul was captured. Thereafter, Gu Fei used the god-snatching secret skill to obtain the Tao of Void that the void beast had mastered. Naturally, Gu Fei would not leave any loose ends. He destroyed the soul of the void beast immediately. By now, the golden bird had long left without anyone knowing. This human was so frightening that even someone as strong as the golden bird would have to retreat. Big bro, that gigantic bird has escaped. The soaring serpent rushed over. Forget it. After all, that gigantic bird has the bloodline of an ancient god beast. So what if it escapes? Gu Fei did not intend to be ruthless. This barren island was far from simple. It should have been formed from a piece of the primordial world after the primordial world was destroyed. A place as such had the laws of the primordial world left behind. If one were to cultivate in this place, it would naturally be much easier. This was also the reason why this barren island could give birth to such powerful living beings. Chapter 2476. Gu Fei wandered around the desolate island and plundered the nests of the void beast and the silver creature. He collected a few rare divine medicines before leaving the desolate island with the soaring serpent. The golden bird was terrified after witnessing all of this. It was afraid that Gu Fei and the soaring serpent would come looking for it. Fortunately, the thing it was most worried about did not happen. The golden bird heaved a sigh of relief when Gu Fei left the desolate island with the soaring serpent. This was because Gu Fei had given it too much pressure. Gu Fei had unexpectedly taken a stroll around the deserted island this time and had gained a lot, especially the lunar essential water essence, which was a divine substance nurtured by heaven and earth. Moreover, he had abducted the soaring serpent from the island. Although the soaring serpent was still in its infancy, it would become a powerful existence that could slaughter saints once it matured. This was the descendant of an ancient pure-blooded divine beast. Its inheritance was hidden in the soaring serpent's bloodline. As the soaring serpent's cultivation continued to increase, the power of its bloodline would gradually be stimulated. The soaring serpent would then be able to obtain the inheritance of the soaring serpent's bloodline. "Big brother, where is the Starfall Island?" Two figures flew across the sky at an extremely fast speed. Strong gales swept down from the sky. The surface of the sea was no longer calm as huge waves were formed. "I don't know either. Let's go and see. We'll eventually find a way back," Gu Fei said. The God-fallen sea was too vast. Even with his ability, he was still lost in the God-fallen sea. Moreover, at this time, the deity in the mountain and river cauldron was in a deep sleep. The god in the mountain and river cauldron had obtained the supreme dragon essence. Naturally, it wanted to refine the dragon essence and recover its former strength. The soaring serpent was speechless. Its big brother seemed to be a little unreliable. Meanwhile, on the Starfall continent, everyone was panicking because Gu Fei had disappeared during his tribulation. One had to know that Gu Fei was their backbone. Following the disappearance of Gu Fei, the experts of the Kunping race became even more arrogant, not taking the unold demon child and the others seriously at all. However, the ancestral ground of the Kunping race was still sealed by the unaging demon child and the others. No one could come out, not even the two heavenly sovereigns of the Kunping race. Actually, the Kunping clan seemed to be fine on the surface, but in reality, everyone in the Kunping clan knew that once the person called Gu Fei returned, the Kunping clan would be in danger of being exterminated. The Kunping race was not isolated from the outside world. They already knew about Gu Fei's various achievements. This human had actually subdued 3 holy venerables from the overseas world all by himself and even leveled 3 of the overseas world's fiercest places. Even if it was just one of them, it would be difficult for the entire Kunping race to accomplish such a thing. No one could remain calm in the face of such a ferocious person. Even the old patriarch of the Kunping race had begun to plan for a way out. At this moment, the Iron Blood Taoist and the others did not know whether Gu Fei was dead or alive. However, everyone knew that Gu Fei was still alive and had not died under the heavenly tribulation. This was because the seal that Gu Fei had planted in the bodies of the unaging demon child and the other 2 holy venerables had not dissipated. This was the best proof. Where did he go? Why isn't he back yet? In the ancestral ground of the demon race on the Starfall continent, a white-robed woman sat cross-legged on a mountain surrounded by spiritual energy. This white-robed woman was Yenna. At this moment, Yenna's gaze became deep. She raised her head to look at the sky, but no one knew what she was thinking about. Just as everyone was anxiously waiting for Gu Fei's return, Gu Fei and the soaring serpent discovered an island in the boundless God-fallen sea. The aura of the human race. When they were thousands of miles away from the island, Gu Fei sensed the exuberant vitality and the expanding aura of the human race on the island. Things would be easier now that there were people. Gu Fei was both surprised and overjoyed. He hurriedly rushed towards the island with the soaring serpent. Soon, they arrived in the sky outside the island. This island was much smaller than the desolate island. It was less than 1,000th of the desolate island's size, but it was still tens of thousands of miles wide. In the center of the island, there was a huge city surrounded by mountains. People came and went in the big city, and it was very lively. In just an instant, Gu Fei's consciousness enveloped the entire island. In the huge city on the island, an old man with white hair and a beard who was sitting on a futon suddenly opened his eyes. I didn't expect such a small island to have an expert guarding it. Very good. Gu Fei smiled. Haha, there's a fight. The soaring serpent also smiled happily. Then, Gu Fei and the soaring serpent directly entered the island, and soon arrived in the sky above the huge city. I wonder which expert has come to Heaven Connect City. This old man has not gone out to welcome you. A wave of consciousness spread out from the huge city. Then, an old man with white hair and a beard appeared in the sky above the huge city. Heaven Connect City! Gu Fei couldn't help but be startled. This huge city was actually called Heaven Connect City. Could it be that there was some kind of secret behind it? When the old man saw Gu Fei and the soaring serpent, he was extremely shocked. He never thought that the people who had come would be so young. The soaring serpent, it's the legendary soaring serpent. The old man stared at the soaring serpent beside Gu Fei and his voice trembled. The old man had actually seen through the soaring serpent's background. Not everyone had such knowledge. Old man, you're not simple. Gu Fei looked at the old man opposite him and said with a smile. The younger generation will surpass the older. I have to admit that I'm old after seeing you. The old man said with a long sigh. Old man, come, let's have a fight first. The soaring serpent was already itching for a fight. A strong wave of energy rippled out from its body and strands of fiery energy circled around its body. Haha, I'm itching to fight you guys. Come over there. As he spoke, the old man turned into a ray of purple light and rushed into the mountains outside the huge city. Hee hee. The soaring serpent laughed and turned into a ray of fiery light and chased after the old man. Seeing this, Gu Fei couldn't help but shake his head. He didn't move and instead entered the huge city below and strolled along the streets. The people in the huge city wore strange and ancient clothing. It was very different from the clothing of the people of the Tanglong continent. However, when the people in the huge city saw Gu Fei's arrival, they didn't have any reaction and continued to do what they were supposed to do. The people here seemed to stand aloof from worldly affairs and lived ordinary but happy lives. Rumble. Chapter 2477. In the mountains outside of the city, the soaring serpent and the old man were fighting. Powerful shockwaves emanated from the mountains, shaking the entire mountain range. The old man was very strong, but he was not at a disadvantage in his battle with the soaring serpent. While the old man was fighting with the soaring serpent, Gu Fei was leisurely strolling around the city. He was not in a hurry. Perhaps there was something he needed here. Perhaps it was fate that he was able to come to this place in the endless godly sea. Inside the huge city, Gu Fei's state of mind was extremely calm. He walked to a tea house and took a look at it. On the signboard of the tea house, there was a single character, Dao. Interesting. Gu Fei was a little surprised. Could the owner of this place be a cultivator? The word Dao on the signboard had a special charm to it. Without thinking too much, Gu Fei walked into the tea house and went upstairs. He sat down at a table by the window on the second floor. Very quickly, a waiter dressed in green came to serve Gu Fei. Then, a tea set was placed on the table in front of Gu Fei. The waiter skillfully brewed a pot of fragrant tea for Gu Fei. The fragrance of this tea was a little special. It was not very strong, but the smell made Gu Fei feel very comfortable. Of course, although tea was good, to Gu Fei, it was just an ordinary thing. Something from the mortal world could only satisfy his taste buds. Gu Fei leisurely enjoyed this rare moment of peace. Outside the window, on the streets below, everyone was busy making a living. Although their lives were ordinary, they enjoyed it. Although he was high and mighty, and could dictate the life and death of others, compared to these mortals, he was nothing. Sometimes, even saints were not that much happier than mortals. After half a cup of tea's time had passed, a figure suddenly flashed at the entrance of the staircase. An old man with white hair and beard walked up and directly sat opposite Gu Fei. Shua! At this moment, a figure flashed in from the window and instantly slipped into Gu Fei's sleeve without alerting anyone. What? Who won and who lost? Gu Fei smiled as he raised the teacup in his hand and took a sip. This old man is cheating. Otherwise, how could I? From Gu Fei's sleeves came the unwilling voice of the soaring serpent. Hee, so it's you who lost. Gu Fei smiled and said, Nonsense, old man, let's fight again. The soaring serpent was indignant. I think we should forget it. If we fight again, my old bones will fall apart. The old man shook his head. This soaring serpent was very strong. If it weren't for the fact that his cultivation base was not too bad, he would not have been able to suppress this legendary divine beast. Although the soaring serpent was still in its infancy, it had already displayed extraordinary combat strength. Old man, how about we talk about a giant city? Gu Fei looked at the old man and said. The Tongtian continent was only a legendary existence. Even the ageless demon child and the other old antiques who had achieved the Taoist since ancient times had only heard of this continent. The Tongtian continent was said to be related to a supreme from the ancient times. It had never appeared in the world, but he did not expect to encounter it. From the runes on the formation platform, Gu Fei could deduce that the people of the Tongtian continent could travel with the other 3 continents through this formation platform. However, no one knew what happened in the surroundings of the fallen god sea. All the cultivators disappeared, and the remaining people were mortals who did not know how to cultivate. Thus, the Tongtian continent had been isolated from the world for many years. Old man, do you want to leave this place? An hour later, Gu Fei jumped down from the ancient formation platform and asked the old man. You can activate this ancient formation platform. The old man was extremely excited. He wanted to go back and take a look. When he left, his wife was already pregnant. He did not know if his child was a boy or a girl, or if it was still alive. Chapter 2478. Under the activation of Gu Fei, the ancient runes on the ancient formation platform began to light up. A wave of Tao Rhyme emerged and the entire formation platform was like an ancient wild beast that had been slumbering for countless years, awakening from its slumber. At this moment, Gu Fei pressed his right hand on one of the formation cores on the formation platform, and the essence chi in his body was continuously sucked away by the formation platform. This, Gu Fei was shocked. The amount of essence chi required by this ancient formation platform was simply too huge. It was like a bottomless pit that was sucking away at the essence chi in his body. No wonder old man Tongtian said that only saint-level existences could activate this ancient formation platform. Only saint-level existences could provide this ancient formation platform with immeasurable essence chi. Anyone below the saint level, even a saint-to-be, would have their essence chi sucked dry when activating this ancient formation platform. They would then die instantly. Buzz! Soon, the ancient formation platform vibrated. At this moment, Gu Fei felt that the ancient formation platform was no longer sucking away his energy. He retracted his right hand from the formation core and stood up. Just as Gu Fei stood up, countless runes rushed out of the ancient formation platform and turned into a ball of divine light that enveloped everyone on the formation platform. Swoosh! The void trembled. At the moment when the ball of divine light emitted its strongest brilliance, it suddenly disappeared from the ancient formation platform. The moment the divine light disappeared, the countless runes on the formation platform dissipated. The runes on the entire ancient formation platform instantly lost their luster and became dim again. Master! Countless cultivators of the Tongtian continent gathered outside the city lord's mansion of Tongtian City. These cultivators were all disciples and grand disciples of old man Tongtian. When these cultivators saw a ray of divine light rushing out of the city lord's mansion and entering the void, they all knew that their master had left. He had left the Tongtian continent. All the cultivators outside the city lord's mansion knelt down, and some of them even cried bitterly. At this time, Gu Fei and the others were sent into the void by the power of the ancient spirit formation platform. They traveled quickly in the void, surrounded by darkness. It was an endless world of darkness. This was how long-distance void teleportation worked. A ball of divine light traversed through the dark void at an extremely fast speed. However, the person in the divine light did not feel that he was moving at all. Above the divine light that enveloped Gu Fei and old man Tong Tian, runes appeared indistinctly, interweaving into ancient and profound Tao diagrams. I didn't expect you to be a saint. Old man Tong Tian was extremely shocked. He had thought that he would be trapped in the heaven-reaching continent for the rest of his life. He had never imagined that he would be able to leave the heaven-reaching continent one day. Humph, little old man, my big brother is very capable. It was unknown when the soaring serpent had crawled out from Gu Fei's sleeve. It lay on Gu Fei's shoulder and snorted coldly. It was still in a bad mood after being defeated by old man Tong Tian. Fellow Taoist Gu, could you be a senior ancient saint that achieved the Tao in the ancient times? Old man Tong Tian thought of something and couldn't help but be shocked. One should know that it was impossible to become a saint in the mortal world. The power of heaven's wrath did not allow the existence of saints in the mortal world. Those ancient saints in the mortal world had no choice but to use a secret technique to seal their cultivation in order to be able to walk in the mortal world. Old man, you're overthinking things, Gu Fei said with a smile. He didn't say anything else. Then how could you? Old man Tong Tian was even more shocked. If this Gu Fei wasn't an ancient saint that achieved the Tao in the ancient times, then how did he become a saint in the mortal world? It was basically impossible to become a saint in the mortal world. However, there were no absolutes in the world. For example, the opening of the chaotic world was not as good as a forbidden land in the mortal world that could disrupt the laws of the world. Could it be that the chaotic world has appeared again? Old man Tong Tian said in shock. His eyes immediately lit up. He was an expert of his generation thousands of years ago, and was publicly recognized as a cultivation genius in the mortal world. He knew many great secrets of the world. The existence of the chaotic world was not a secret to old man Tong Tian. You know quite a lot. Gu Fei didn't deny it. The chaotic world has really appeared again. Old man Tong Tian's expression turned a little sluggish when he heard this. This was a great opportunity for a quasi-saint in the mortal world to become a saint. His body trembled, but he quickly calmed down. What a pity, such a great opportunity. Old man Tong Tian shook his head and sighed. He was trapped in the legendary fourth continent of the God-fallen sea and lost such a great opportunity. He was extremely disappointed. What's there to pity? The power of heaven's wrath is about to disappear and the world might return to the primitive era. The real great era is coming. Gu Fei's eyes turned deep as he said this. What? Old man Tong Tian was really shocked when he heard this. Even if he didn't know the great secret of the world, he could imagine how serious the consequences of the power of heaven's wrath would be. Once the power of heaven's wrath disappeared, there would be no power that could restrain the saint-level living beings. The saint-level living beings would regain their invincible saint-level cultivation. At that time, the mortal world would definitely be in chaos. How is this possible? Old man Tong Tian muttered to himself. At this moment, Gu Fei didn't want to say anything more. One should know that even he only learned of such a great secret by chance. Old man Tong Tian wanted to ask again after he came back to his senses. However, Gu Fei didn't say anything else. Instead, he sat cross-legged in the void and ignored old man Tong Tian. Once this news was made known to the world, it would definitely cause panic. Even a quasi-saint like old man Tong Tian lost his composure, let alone the countless cultivators in the cultivation world. If news of the disappearance of the power of heaven's wrath were to spread, the cultivation world of the mortal world would probably be in chaos before the power of heaven's wrath disappeared. This wasn't something that Gu Fei wanted to see. He still had many things to do. Now that the power of heaven's wrath was still around, those fellows wouldn't dare to act recklessly. However, once the power of heaven's wrath disappeared, those fellows would have nothing to fear. Even the soaring serpent fell silent. After an unknown period of time, the divine light that enveloped Gu Fei and old man Tong Tian suddenly trembled. The faint runes on the divine light emitted a dazzling divine radiance. At the same time, rays of divine light suddenly shot out from a forbidden land on the falling stars continent. Every ray of divine light was like a divine rainbow that pierced through the void. The powerful energy waves immediately alerted all the powerful creatures on the falling star's continent. The unaging demon child and the others immediately rushed toward the forbidden land. It was an ancient ruin. To be more precise, it was a ruin. However, this ruin was a terrifying land of danger. Even during the day, the place was eerie and gloomy. From time to time, one could see immortals with their heads severed and celestial beings with their feathers cut off moving about in the ruins. This was a land of danger that had been cursed. Even the unaging demon child and the others were unwilling to set foot in this place. They were afraid that they would come into contact with the evil energy, and something ominous would happen to them. However, at this moment, an incredibly powerful energy wave came from the land of danger. A hair-raising voice could be heard coming from the depths of the land of danger. "What's going on?" The unaging demon child and the other two sacred venerables immediately came to the outskirts of the land of danger. They were unwilling to enter the land of danger, so they only observed from the outside. "That's..." The three sacred venerables were extremely shocked. They saw some ancient figures roaming about in the land of danger. Ancient gods and demons had fallen in the land of danger, but their remnant will did not dissipate. Rumble! While the three sacred venerables were still in shock, a deep rumble came from the depths of the land of danger. The ground trembled as the energy wave coming from the land of danger grew stronger. At this moment, the three sacred venerables saw the ground of the land of danger crack open as a formation platform rose from the ground. Ancient runes could be vaguely seen on the platform. An ancient aura was emitted from the formation platform. An ancient teleportation formation. The eyes of the southern heaven's supremacy lit up when he saw the formation platform. At this moment, countless runes lit up on the teleportation formation platform. An aura of the great Tao appeared between the heavens and the earth. The formation platform was awakening. The energy of the heavens and earth began to gather toward the ancient formation platform. "Why is this ancient formation platform suddenly awakening?" Celestial Darch-Young said. His expression was incomparably solemn. He could already tell that this ancient formation platform was not something from the Antiquity Age, but something left behind from an era even older than the Antiquity Age. Could it be that a supreme existence from the ancient era has lived to this day? The unaging demon child thought of this possibility. It was not impossible for a powerful existence from the ancient era to live to this day. However, for ancient saints like Heavenly Monarch Ziyang who achieved Tao in the ancient era, the ancient mythological era had already become a legend. This was the previous reincarnation cycle. The disappearance of the ancient mythological era was the end of the previous reincarnation cycle and the beginning of the next one. The ancient era was a new reincarnation. However, very few people could transcend the reincarnation cycle and live to the present. However, there was one thing that Heavenly Emperor Ziyang and the others were very clear about. If there was an ancient living being that lived to the present, then that ancient living being would definitely be a supreme existence. The ancient formation platform is awakening. Could it be that an ancient existence is about to cross over? The Southern Heaven Supremacy's voice was very cold. This was definitely not a good thing for him. There's no need for us to make wild guesses. We will know the result very soon, the unaging demon child said calmly. He looked calm on the surface, but he was actually a little nervous on the inside. The awakening of the ancient formation platform clearly meant that an unknown existence was about to descend upon the falling star's continent. At this moment, other experts from the falling star's continent also arrived one after another. These experts were also indescribably shocked when they saw the scene in the ominous land. Rumble! The heavens and earth were shaking. The ancient formation platform that rose from the depths of the ominous land had already risen to the sky above the ominous land. Terrifying sounds like the wailing of ghosts and the howling of deities could be heard coming from the ominous land. Vague figures could be seen in the ominous land. There were figures of ancient gods wandering around. Chapter 2479. There was a huge change in an ominous place on the Starfall continent. An ancient formation platform in the ominous place suddenly awakened, alarming all the powerful creatures on the Starfall continent. This was a famous cursed place on the Starfall continent. No one was willing to set foot in it. Even the unaging demon child and other powerful Saint Venerables were unwilling to go near this cursed place. At this moment, shrill cries came from the cursed place. Ancient silhouettes were faintly discernible. Primordial gods and devils were roaring. High up in the sky, an ancient formation platform emitted a dazzling divine light. Countless runes rushed out from the platform as if they were communicating with the past, present, and future. Everyone felt incomparably pressured. Buzz! High up in the sky, the ancient formation platform suddenly shook. Then, the countless runes turned into a ball of divine light. It was as if a divine sun had appeared between heaven and earth. "What is that?" someone exclaimed. At this moment, someone saw two silhouettes appear on the ancient formation platform. What? Ancient undying creatures are really descending on the Starfall continent? At this moment, even the three Saint Venerables could not remain calm. One should know that if the ancient undying creatures were really descending, then the entire Starfall continent would experience an unimaginable change. Rumble! The ancient formation platform shook. The two silhouettes shrouded by the divine light on the platform gradually became clearer. Powerful creatures were about to cross the endless void and descend on the Starfall continent. What's going on? Suddenly, the unaging demon child and the other two heavenly venerables wore strange expressions. They sensed a familiar aura coming from the ball of divine light on the ancient formation platform. The three Saint Venerables could not help but glance at each other. They could all see the uncertainty in each other's eyes. How is this possible? The three Saint Venerables found it a little unbelievable. At this moment, a dazzling ball of divine light suddenly burst out from the ancient formation platform. This ball of divine light was extremely dazzling. It was several times brighter than the divine sun in the sky. The sudden burst of light made it difficult for everyone to look straight at it. Those with weaker cultivations could not even open their eyes. In the next moment, the dazzling divine light suddenly disappeared. Those who could still open their eyes felt their vision darken for a moment before gradually brightening up. The ancient array platform floated quietly in the sky, and there were two people standing on it. It should be said that it was two people and a snake. Of course, this snake was no ordinary snake. It's really him. When the unold demon child saw the familiar figure on the ancient formation platform, his heart couldn't help but jump. This person had finally returned. The two men and one snake that had traversed the endless void to appear on the ancient formation platform were not the legendary, undying creatures from ancient times. Yes, Master. When the iron-blood Taoist saw the figure on the ancient array platform, his voice trembled with excitement. Master, Crimson Dragon and Yao Yu were extremely excited. He's back! On the Falling Star continent, in a stone chamber in the demon clan's ancestral land, a long-haired woman in white who was sitting cross-legged on a futon suddenly opened her eyes. Roar! At this moment, a series of roars rang out from below the ancient spirit formation platform. A powerful curse power enveloped the entire area, including the ancient spirit formation platform. Shadows of ancient demons appeared in the void, baring their fangs and brandishing their claws as they charged towards the ancient array platform in the sky. This was the evil will that was formed after the fall of the ancient gods and devils. This evil will was very terrifying. If one was tainted by it, even a saint would die in an instant. Boom! Just as the shadows formed from the evil thoughts of ancient demons were about to pounce on the ancient array platform, a ball of fire suddenly exploded from the ancient array platform. The fire burned the sky, and countless shadows that had rushed up from below were instantly swallowed by the sweeping fire. They were then refined into wisps of green smoke that dissipated in the void. A flame-shaped Tao pattern could be vaguely seen in that ball of fire, emitting a heart-palpitating aura of extreme yang. Extreme yang Tao fire! The unaging demon child could not help but be shocked. He cultivated the black tortoise secret technique, and the great path of water. This kind of extreme yang Tao fire was his nemesis. In fact, the supreme yang Tao fire was not only the nemesis of water elemental power, but it was also the nemesis of all evil energies. The evil thoughts that the ancient gods and devils had turned into after their deaths were enveloped by the supreme Yang Dao fire and turned into green smoke. Following that, a path formed from true fire extended from the ancient array platform. 2 figures stepped onto the path and were brought out of the ominous lands by the path. During this process, the 2 people and the snake on the true fire path were not tainted by the cursed power of the cursed lands. The divine fire dissipated, and the 2 figures appeared outside the cursed lands. However, the ancient array platform above the cursed lands had disappeared. "Greetings, Master! Greetings, Master!" Outside the cursed lands, everyone hurriedly rushed towards the 2 people and the snake that had emerged from the cursed lands. They then bowed to one of the figures. "Brother Gu, this..." The Tongtian old man was already stunned. Although he already knew that Gu Fei was very powerful in the meteorite continent, he did not expect Gu Fei to be this powerful. None of the people who bowed to Gu Fei were weaklings. The 6 or 7 people who led the group were all extremely powerful saints. How could the Tongtian old man not be moved? Gu Fei only nodded without saying anything. "Big brother, these people are all your subordinates." In contrast to the Tongtian old man, the soaring serpent was extremely excited. His big brother was really amazing. He actually had so many powerful subordinates. Gu Fei smiled and said a few simple words to the crowd. Then, he brought the soaring serpent and the Tongtian old man back to the demon clan's ancestral grounds in the meteorite continent. A place like this? The Tongtian old man was shocked when he arrived at the demon clan's ancestral grounds. He could tell that this place was extraordinary. There was ancestral chi rising from the ground. This was a phenomenon unique to the Earth ancestral veins. In other words, this area of 1,000 miles was the source of the meteorite continent's Earth ancestral veins. The Earth ancestral veins rose and spiritual energy gathered from all directions. Cultivating in such a place would definitely yield twice the results with half the effort. It was impossible for one not to become powerful. The Tongtian old man was arranged to stay in a separate pavilion in the demon clan's ancestral grounds. The soaring serpent followed Gu Fei. It lay on Gu Fei's shoulder and refused to come down. At this time, even if Gu Fei wanted to chase the soaring serpent away, it wouldn't leave. There was a palace built on a spiritual peak in the demon clan's ancestral grounds. Gu Fei sat on a throne in the middle of the palace. The soaring serpent with wings on its back lay on his shoulder. A group of experts stood in 2 rows below the throne. The Iron Blood Taoist was the first to step forward. He told Gu Fei about the various things that happened in the meteorite continent after Gu Fei left. "The Kunping tribe really doesn't know what's good for them." The Red Dragon Taoist stepped forward after the Iron Blood Taoist was done. "Master, we need to punish the Kunping tribe severely," the Red Dragon suggested. "With the exception of the Kunping clan, all the other powerful clans of the Starfall continent have submitted to us. The Kunping clan is challenging our authority." Mr. Wu also stepped forward and suggested that the Kunping tribe be suppressed. Following that, more people stepped forward and suggested that Gu Fei punish the Kunping tribe severely. "What do you think?" Gu Fei suddenly glanced at the unaging demon child and the other 2 sacred venerables. The unaging demon child pondered for a moment before saying, "The Kunping tribe is too strong. We need to teach them a lesson, but they have 2 sacred venerables, and they are also descendants of ancient divine beasts." The beast sacred venerable was a little hesitant. "I'm just afraid that they won't submit even if we teach them a lesson." The South Heaven sacred venerable suddenly said, "Humph, the Kunping tribe is strong, but so what?" Heavenly Emperor Ziyang said impatiently. Everyone couldn't help but look at Heavenly Emperor Ziyang when they heard this. Everyone in the hall could tell what Heavenly Emperor Ziyang was implying, but no one pointed it out. While Gu Fei was back to take charge of the situation, the Kunping tribe's ancestral land could no longer remain calm after hearing the news of Gu Fei's return. On top of a towering mountain in the ancestral land of the Kunping tribe stood a palace. This was the famous Kunping Palace of the meteorite continent. Legend had it that this Kunping Palace was a palace left behind by the ancient divine beast, the Kunping. At this moment, all the higher-ups of the Kunping tribe had gathered in the Kunping Palace. More than 10 Kunping tribe members emitting powerful auras gathered in the main hall of the Kunping Palace. A tall and mighty old man was sitting in the main hall of the Kunping Palace. Leader, Gu Fei has returned. What should we do? A middle-aged man in green asked the old man. Humph, what's there to be afraid of? We'll deal with it when it comes. If Gu Fei dares to come, I'll cut him down with my blade. A middle-aged man in black said in a low voice. He didn't seem to care about Gu Fei at all. He's a ruthless man. He even leveled the 3 most ominous places in the overseas seas. Someone said. Everyone in the hall fell silent after hearing this. Gu Fei's battle record could be said to be unprecedented. It should be known that the 3 great forbidden lands of the Endless Sea had existed for countless years. Even some of the most talented experts would find it difficult to flatten these forbidden lands. However, the 3 forbidden places were leveled by Gu Fei. Gu Fei's battle record made everyone in the hall feel heavy in their hearts. Humph, you guys are too naive. Do you really think that Gu Fei can level the 3 forbidden places by himself? The middle-aged man in black said disdainfully. Do you know something? Someone asked the middle-aged man in black. Humph, I don't know much more than all of you. However, even if I use my toes to think, I can figure out that this Gu Fei must have borrowed the strength of the Purple Sun region and the Clear Moon region in order to flatten the 3 great danger zones. The middle-aged man in black said. Boom! Chapter 2480. The entire ancestral land of the Kunping race began to shake. Countless runes appeared, and the ancestral formation of the Kunping race began to operate. The world seemed to have turned into an endless black sea, and a gigantic creature appeared in the black sea. It was a huge fish, the legendary Kun. There was a fish in the northern underworld called the Kun. The entire ancestral land of the Kunping race had turned into the northern underworld sea. There was a huge fish floating in the sea, raising huge waves that reached the 9 heavens as if they were going to break through the sky. At this time, the ancestral land of the Kunping race had disappeared from the world, hidden in the dark North Divine Sea. This was the might of the rock race's ancestral formation. It was able to produce such shocking phenomena and reproduce the extremely shocking scene of a rock leaving the sea. What's going on? The ancestral formation of the Kunping race had been activated. Everyone in the Kunping palace paled. Someone had actually shaken the ancestral land of the Kunping race. Such power was unimaginable. Everyone in the Kunping palace rushed out and looked up. They saw the vast power of the Kunping in all directions. High up in the sky, a huge fish rushed out of the sea and transformed into a 9 heavens divine ping, soaring through the 9 heavens. The ancestral formation's power has been completely activated. Even the patriarch of the Kunping race was dumbfounded. He truly couldn't imagine that there was still power in this world that could shake the ancestral formation. That Gu Fei actually has such power? Muttered the patriarch. He felt a bit uneasy. It seemed he had underestimated Gu Fei. It seemed this Gu Fei was truly not simple. Patriarch, you mean? At this time, even the black-robed man was extremely shocked. Humph, that Gu Fei attacked the Kunping race as soon as he returned. How hateful! Everyone was furious, but there was nothing they could do. They knew that the Kunping race was determined to unify the Starfall continent. Since the Kunping race wasn't willing to submit, they were enemies. There's no need to worry. No one can break the ancestral formation. I want to see what abilities this Gu Fei has, said the black-robed man. The black-robed middle-aged man said. Although he was shocked, he still pretended to be disdainful. There was a reason why the Kunping clan was able to survive in the Falling Star continent for so many years. The ancestral formation of the Kunping clan had never been broken by anyone. This was the confidence of the Kunping race. As long as the ancestral formation was not broken, even if the sky and earth outside collapsed, it would not affect the Kunping race. Furthermore, even if the ancestral formation was destroyed, the Rock clan would still have a way out. They would definitely not be annihilated. In the worst-case scenario, they could still leave the Starfall continent. While the higher-ups of the Kunping clan were still in shock, The dozen or so killing formations that were sealing the ancestral land of the Kunping clan all exploded. Countless runes were destroyed, and each rune released a powerful destructive force the moment it was destroyed. More than a dozen killing formations exploded at the same time. The power that erupted was so great that it destroyed a part of the world. The ancestral land of the Kunping race was instantly enveloped by the chaotic chi. Rumble! Streaks of chaotic lightning suddenly appeared in the chaotic chi. They tore through the chaos and emitted a terrifying destructive aura. The entire ancestral land of the Kunping race was surrounded by the chaotic chi. The destructive power constantly destroyed the ancestral formation of the Kunping race. However, the ancestral formation of the Kunping race was really powerful. Even the chaotic chi could not destroy it. Amidst the chaos, there was a part of the dark North Sea that was vast and mighty. In the sea, there was a huge fish floating and sinking. That huge fish would occasionally rush out of the sea and transform into a divine rock that soared above the 9 heavens. Sometimes, it would dive down from the heavens and dive back into the sea, transforming into a huge fish that would raise towering waves. It was as if a real Kunping had appeared in the world. There was an extreme power rippling out. The huge fish in the sea seemed to be able to crush the world with just a flip. How is this possible? At this time, outside the ancestral land of the Kunping race, all the experts were extremely shocked. The extreme aura from the chaotic chi made everyone almost unable to breathe. This kind of supreme aura was too powerful. Even a strand of it could oppress the mountains and rivers. Not everyone could bear it. Those with weaker cultivations had to retreat far away. Even the saint-level creatures felt an extreme pressure. The expressions of the unold demon child and the other 2 saint sovereigns became extremely solemn, especially the unold demon child. Because of the existence of the ancestral formation, the Kunping race had no scruples against Gu Fei and the others. Even the unold demon child could not make the Kunping race surrender. Do you think you can break my ancestral formation with this kind of method? A loud shout came from the chaos. The tone was full of disdain. This is just foreplay. On a mountain peak, a white-robed young man looked at the surging chaotic chi in front of him and murmured to himself. A group of experts stood behind him, including the unold demon child and the others. This white-robed young man was Gu Fei. On his shoulder, there was a winged serpent. This serpent was the soaring serpent. Then, Gu Fei turned his right hand and an ancient cauldron appeared in his hand. An ancient aura that seemed to come from ancient times was immediately emitted from the ancient cauldron. This is... Seeing the ancient cauldron in Gu Fei's hand, the eyes of everyone behind Gu Fei immediately lit up. That ancient cauldron was a legendary Paragon Saint weapon. At this time, all the people who followed Gu Fei knew that their lord had a Paragon Saint weapon in his hand. The legendary mountain and river cauldron. Heavenly Emperor Ziyang muttered to himself. His eyes were blazing. This Paragon Saint weapon was a Paragon Saint weapon that had existed since ancient times. It should be known that the Supreme Saint weapon was a Paragon Saint weapon with a God's will inside. It had a different kind of life and was a living Supreme Scripture. It was really hard to imagine that Gu Fei actually had such a great opportunity to obtain such a Paragon Saint weapon. Not only was Heavenly Emperor Ziyang extremely envious, but everyone present who knew the origin of the mountain and river cauldron was also extremely jealous. However, no one dared to have any thoughts of touching it. Gu Fei had already obtained the approval of the gods while inside the mountain and river cauldron. It was difficult for others to take it from him. Not only could they not take it away, but they could also be killed by the mountain and river cauldron if they were not careful. At this time, the mountain and river cauldron directly rose from Gu Fei's hand into the sky and became as huge as a mountain. Then, it suppressed the incomparably huge mass of chaotic chi in front of it. Rumble! The heaven and earth shook as if the sky was about to collapse. The mountain and river cauldron emitted a wisp of supreme Tao aura. A mighty force that could suppress the heaven and earth spread from the mountain and river cauldron. As the mountain and river cauldron suppressed the mass of chaotic chi below, the entire void seemed to solidify. The chaotic chi continuously dissipated, and a vast and mighty dark north ocean appeared between heaven and earth. Chapter 2481. The cauldron of mountain and river was a supreme treasure that could suppress the world. It could even suppress the sky and earth, let alone the ancestral land of the Kunping. However, the ancestral land of the Kunping was protected by the formation of the extreme path. Even the cauldron could not suppress it for a while. Two extremely powerful forces clashed. The divine ocean of the underworld created by the ancestral formation of the Kunping managed to block the powerful force from the cauldron. Rumble! The world shook. Waves of primordial chaos chi fell from the cauldron. Each wave was enough to crush the sky and seal everything. However, the power of the Kunping was extremely powerful. The giant fish in the divine ocean seemed to be able to flip the entire world over. The Kunping was a powerful divine beast from the ancient times. It had the power to flip the sky. The ancestral formation of the Kunping was truly extraordinary. It could actually gather the power of the Kunping. I didn't expect the Kunping to have such a deep foundation. Gu Fei's expression changed when he saw this. The Kunping clan's ancestral formation was definitely a sovereign-level formation. Otherwise, how could it withstand the mountain and river cauldron's suppression? Buzz! The mountain-river cauldron shook, and an even more powerful force spread out from the mountain-river cauldron. Ancient and mysterious runes began to appear on the mountain-river cauldron. The ancestral formation of the Kunping was too powerful. The deity inside the cauldron had to get serious. Once the deity inside the cauldron became serious, it was very terrifying. It did not want to waste time fighting the ancestral formation of the Kunping. It had obtained the primordial dragon's draconic essence. It needed time to refine the draconic essence and return to its peak state. This was very important to the cauldron. Once the power of heaven's wrath disappeared, the 3 realms and 6 Taos would be in chaos. No one knew what would happen then. It was very difficult for a supreme to die. Even if they did, they would not die completely. They would be reborn with some heaven-defying method. Who knew if the missing ones would return? Once they did, even the cauldron would be in danger. Rumble! The power that erupted from the cauldron was extremely powerful. It began to press down again. The voice of the great path came from the cauldron as if a supreme being was chanting. The divine sound of the great path spread throughout the entire Falling Stars continent. All living creatures were shocked beyond compare. It was as if they had a feeling in their hearts. The problems of cultivation that were hard to understand in the past seemed to have been solved in an instant. At this moment, the Kunping ancestral formation began to shake violently. Pitch-black spatial cracks appeared in the void, like bolts of black lightning shooting out in all directions. The Kunping ancestral formation suffered a great impact. The big fish in the northern underworld divine sea broke through the waves and turned into the 9 heavens divine ping. It soared into the sky and rushed towards the mountain and river cauldron that was pressing down. It was a divine ping formed from the supreme Tao patterns of the Kunping clan. It was the embodiment of the great Tao created by the Kunping. Boom! With a loud bang, the divine rock directly collided with the cauldron of mountain and river, causing the cauldron to tremble continuously. Countless runes dissipated into the air. So powerful! Everyone on the mountain peak was dumbfounded when they saw this. The power of the divine ping striking the heavens was definitely enough to create a giant hole in the sky. Unfortunately, the opponent of the Kunping race was the mountain river cauldron. Bang! The mountain river cauldron emitted endless power of primordial chaos, which directly shattered the divine ping. The supreme power destroyed the supreme Tao patterns of the Kunping race. Without any suspense, the northern underworld divine sea below the mountain river cauldron gradually dissipated. The runes of the great Tao array were destroyed by the primordial chaos. Nothing could stop the mountain river cauldron that had completely recovered. Not even the ancestral formation of the Kunping race, unless the Venerable Kunping was resurrected. Countless runes were dissipating. The power of the Kunping gathered by the ancestral formation was crushed by the mountain river cauldron and then devoured. Very soon, the ancestral formation of the Kunping was forcibly broken by the mountain river cauldron. The immortal Tao patterns of the Kunping race that were imprinted everywhere in the ancestral land of the Kunping race collapsed. Brat, my business is done! Don't disturb me in the near future. Do you understand? Just as the ancestral formation of the Kunping race was broken by the mountain river cauldron, a voice suddenly sounded in Gu Fei's mind. The god inside the mountain river cauldron was talking to Gu Fei telepathically. The god inside the mountain river cauldron was very unhappy. It wanted to refine the dragon essence. After breaking the ancestral land of the Kunping race, it stopped its magic and retreated. Got it, Gu Fei said to the mountain river cauldron, which was flying back to him. The mountain river cauldron directly entered Gu Fei's body and entered the internal world where his dantian was located. Kill! Without any hesitation, the strong cultivators behind Gu Fei, who were already ready, immediately rushed into the sky and rushed towards the ancestral land of the Kunping race. The mountain river cauldron only broke the ancestral formation of the Kunping race, but it did not destroy the ancestral land of the Kunping race. It should be known that the ancestral land of the Kunping race was not simple. It was the source of the spirit veins within a radius of hundreds of thousands of miles. It was a divine land. Humph, aren't the Kunping race very powerful? Today, we will make them kneel and beg for mercy. Someone shouted and rushed into the ancestral land of the Kunping race. Black Robe, come and die. The unold demon child had already entered the depths of the ancestral land of the Kunping race. His murderous intent was shocking. He wanted to find the Black Robe who dared to kill the messenger he sent. His voice spread throughout the ancestral land of the Kunping race. However, no one responded. The arrogant Black Robe did not appear. Not only did he not appear, but the other members of the Kunping race were also nowhere to be seen. What's going on? The unold demon child felt that it was a bit unbelievable. It should be known that the mountain river cauldron was suppressing everything. The Kunping race could not possibly escape using spatial teleportation. Roar, where are those sons of bitches? Someone shouted angrily. There was not a single person in the ancestral land of the Kunping race. It was as if the members of the Kunping race had disappeared into thin air. The members of the Kunping race have escaped. The strong cultivators who rushed into the ancestral land of the Kunping race were shocked. They could not understand how the members of the Kunping race could escape under the suppression of the mountain river cauldron. This doesn't make sense. The Iron Blood Taoist stood on a mountain peak in the ancestral land of the Kunping race. He frowned. There was no aura of the members of the Kunping race in the ancestral land of the Kunping race. The Kunping palace is gone. At this moment, the unold demon child, heavenly monarch Ziyang, and hierarch South Heaven arrived at the towering mountain in the ancestral land of the Kunping race. Chapter 2482. Everyone found it unbelievable that the Kunping palace had disappeared. After all, the mountain and river cauldron had sealed everything. How could the Kunping palace disappear? It was unbelievable. How is this possible? Even the holy venerables like the unold demon child were dumbfounded when they saw the empty hilltop. Could the Kunping palace have escaped under the suppression of the mountain and river cauldron? However, the truth was the truth. In the entire ancestral land of the Kunping race, there was not a single person of the Kunping race. All the divine medicines in the field had been moved away. There was not a single divine material or spiritual item in the treasury of the Kunping race. What shocked everyone was that the ancestral veins of the land where the Kunping race was located had been moved away. The concentration of spiritual qi in the entire ancestral land of the Kunping race was rapidly decreasing. The ancestral land of the Kunping race had been moved away. All the experts who had attacked the Kunping race were dumbfounded. No one had thought that the Kunping race would leave so thoroughly and take away everything that could be taken away. The Kunping race is not simple. Gu Fei entered the ancestral land of the Kunping race. He could not help but be moved when he saw the situation. Not everyone could abandon the ancestral land of a race. It should be known that the ancestral land of a race was extremely sacred. The Kunping palace is gone. The unold demon child and the others walked over and said to Gu Fei, "The Kunping palace." Upon hearing this, a thought flashed through Gu Fei's heart. Could it be that the Kunping Palace was actually an immortal palace built by the Kunping sovereign? Perhaps, this was the only possibility that could explain why the Kunping clan was able to calmly retreat under the suppression of the mountain and river cauldron. They had come with such a large force, but this was the result. No one could accept it. In the end, Gu Fei could only destroy the ancestral land of the Kunping race with one palm. The ancestral land of the Kunping race was no longer of any value. The news of the Kunping race's defeat quickly spread throughout the Falling Stars continent. Some strong races that had not yet expressed their allegiance to Gu Fei could not sit still anymore. Those powerful races didn't have the heaven-defying methods of the rock race. They didn't want to be exterminated, so they could only choose to submit. The leaders of these powerful races personally went to Gu Fei and swore their loyalty. Since then, the entire Starfall continent was under Gu Fei's complete control. Gu Fei had unified the forces in the Outer Sea domain and conquered the 3 forbidden areas. It could be said that no one had ever achieved such a feat before. Ever since the primordial world shattered, no one had been able to unite the forces in the soaring dragon ancestral star, but Gu Fei had done it. At this time, even the unaging demon child, Heavenly Emperor Ziyang, and the others thought that Gu Fei was someone with great fortune. Otherwise, how could he have unified the outer seas? Subsequently, Gu Fei lived a peaceful life in the ancestral land of the demon clan. In the blink of an eye, 3 years had passed. Under the personal guidance of Gu Fei, Yao Yu's cultivation had finally caught up and reached the peak realm allowed by the human realm. The reason why Yao Yu's cultivation had improved so quickly was largely due to the lunar true water she had obtained. Gu Fei gave Yao Yu the lunar true water he obtained from the desolate island and helped Yao Yu successfully fuse with the lunar true water, allowing Yao Yu to reach the peak of the human realm in a short 3 years. Yao Yu's cultivation only needed to advance a step further to reach the bottom line allowed by the human realm. The lunar true water was worthy of being a divine power born naturally from heaven and earth. For Yao Yu, who possessed the water element martial physique, it was definitely a supreme treasure that could increase her cultivation. If it was an ordinary person, they would have a hard time refining the lunar true water. Of course, Gu Fei wouldn't favor one over the other. He obtained an extreme yang true fire from the soaring serpent, and gave it to the red dragon. This made the red dragon's cultivation even purer, and qualified to break through to the sage realm. However, the red dragon was very cautious and didn't want to break through so quickly. He suppressed his cultivation and sealed it at the quasi-sage realm. As for Yen Gu Fei didn't have anything to give her because Yen already had the most suitable sacred tool for her, the Myriad Medicine Cosmos Cauldron. The Myriad Medicine Cosmos Cauldron wasn't an ordinary sacred tool. On this day, the moon was hanging high above the willow trees. Gu Fei and Yen were strolling by the lake. The surface of the lake was as calm as a mirror, and the bright moon in the sky was reflected on its surface. A cool breeze blew by, ruffling their hair. "Gu Fei, do you like me?" Yen who had been silent all this time, suddenly stopped and looked at Gu Fei. Her eyes were incomparably clear, just like when Gu Fei first met her. Yen had always been a pure girl, very pure. "What did you say?" Gu Fei couldn't help but be shocked. His relationship with Yen had always been separated by a thin veil, but now, Yen had said it out loud. "I'm asking, do you like me?" Yen looked at Gu Fei and asked in a serious manner. This sudden question left Gu Fei at a loss of what to do. He didn't know what to do. If anyone could see Gu Fei's expression right now, their jaws would drop to the ground. One should know that Gu Fei was a peerless, ruthless person in the eyes of the experts from the overseas. Conquering the 3 fierce places and unifying the 3 continents, Gu Fei had done something that no one would even dare to think about. "Forget it, pretend I didn't say anything." Seeing Gu Fei's hesitation, Yen's face revealed a hint of disappointment. She then turned around and was about to leave. At that moment, a hand reached over and grabbed Yen's right hand. Then, with a tug, Yen fell into a warm embrace. The two of them didn't say anything else. At this time, any words would be unnecessary. The next morning, Gu Fei and Yenna left the ancestral grounds of the demon race and walked around the falling stars continent. They were going to enter the world to cultivate, and use this method to improve their cultivation bases. Gu Fei and Yenna didn't tell anyone. Their sudden disappearance had caused everyone in the ancestral grounds of the demon race to panic. However, they soon calmed down. Even though Gu Fei was in the ancestral grounds of the demon race, no one dared to challenge his authority, much less rebel against him. The unaging demon child and the others had seals placed on them by Gu Fei. If Gu Fei were to die, the seals on them would automatically be removed. Because of this, they all knew that Gu Fei was alive and well. Since Gu Fei was alive and well, who would be tired of living and dare to rebel? Gu Fei and Yenna came to a tribe in the mountains and turned into two mortals. They hunted for a living and lived a difficult life. However, they were very peaceful and happy. During the day, Gu Fei picked up his bow and carried a quiver of arrows. He would go into the mountains to hunt. Every time he went into the mountains, he would bring back a lot of prey. This made the other hunters very envious. "Dainya's wife, your family's Dainya is very capable. He can hunt a lot of prey every time." When Gu Fei appeared at the mountain pass carrying a huge wild boar weighing several hundred pounds, a few women chatting in front of a wooden house next to Gu Fei spoke to Yenna. These women were all envious of Yenna for finding such a powerful man. Yenna didn't say anything and only stared at the figure that was gradually approaching. "Uncle Dainya is back. There's going to be a feast tonight." A few brats rushed out from a nearby wooden house. "Uncle Dainya, let me help you carry it." A snot-nosed kid grabbed the tail of the huge wild boar and lifted it up with all his might. "Hee hee!" Gu Fei laughed. "Dainya, good job." At this moment, a few middle-aged men wearing animal skins caught up from behind Gu Fei. When they saw Gu Fei had hunted a huge wild boar, they couldn't help but give him a thumbs up. Compared to Gu Fei, these hunters were only carrying a few pheasants or 2 hares. Their harvest was very small and could only keep their families from starving. "Big brother, sure, I'm just lucky to have met this guy, that's all," Gu Fei said with a smile. "Haha, it would be great if we could have such luck," another dark-skinned, skinny man said with a smile. "How about everyone coming over for a drink tonight?" Gu Fei said to the hunters. "All right, I still have a jar of good wine in my house. Let's get drunk tonight," the bearded big brother sure said in a loud voice. "There's wine to drink, how can we be left out?" the other 2 middle-aged hunters said. At this moment, the women of the families came forward and took the gain from their husbands' hands. Then, they returned to their respective wooden houses. Gu Fei came to the front of his wooden house and threw the wild boar on the ground. "You're back." Yen walked up and took out a handkerchief to wipe the sweat on Gu Fei's forehead. Soon, the women of the neighboring families came to help with the big wild boar. A big iron pot was set up in front of Gu Fei and Yenna's wooden house. The women skillfully cut the big wild boar into 8 pieces and threw the bones into the big iron pot to make soup. Then, they started a bonfire next to the big iron pot and roasted the cut meat on top of the fire. Soon, the fragrance of meat wafted in the air. The people in the mountains were very simple. The relationships between people were also very simple. They did not scheme against each other. Gu Fei sealed his cultivation and turned into an ordinary person. He changed his name to Dainya and lived in this tribe. Yenna also sealed her cultivation and became Gu Fei's wife. When night fell, Big Brother Sure came in with a jar of wine. Then, the other 2 hunters also came to Gu Fei's courtyard. Everyone started to eat and drink big bowls of wine and big pieces of meat. Gu Fei enjoyed this kind of life very much. It was a brand new experience. He could truly blend in with the ordinary people and feel this kind of ordinariness with his heart. "Brother Dainya, I heard that the spoiled brat seems to have taken a fancy to your wife. You have to be careful," the dark-skinned man suddenly said to Gu Fei. "What? That good-for-nothing bastard." Hearing this, Big Brother Sure couldn't help but raise his eyebrows and a ray of light flashed in his eyes. "Who are you calling a good-for-nothing bastard?" Chapter 2483. Outside the courtyard in front of Gu Fei's wooden house stood 3 tall figures. Under the illumination of the fire, their faces could be vaguely seen in the darkness. "It's you!" Gu Fei and the others who were chatting in the courtyard were shocked. Big Brother sure recognized the newcomer. It was the spoiled brat who they had just mentioned. Bang! The spoiled brat kicked open the wooden door of the courtyard and swaggered into Gu Fei's courtyard with his 2 subordinates. Gu Fei and the others who were sitting around the wooden table next to the bonfire stood up and stared at the 3 uninvited guests. Big Brother Sure and the others showed hostility towards the young man in his 20s who was wearing a high-quality animal skin and had an evil smile on his face. "What? I'm not welcome." The young man had a slight smile on his face as he sat down beside the wooden structure. His 2 subordinates stood behind him with fierce expressions on their faces. "You!" Big Brother Sure and the others took a few steps back and looked cautiously at the young man sitting next to the wooden table. "Soaring Leopard, what are you doing here?" Big Brother Sure stared at the young man and said coldly. Although the young man was the son of the chief of the tribe, most people in the tribe did not like him. However, the chief of the tribe had a high prestige in the tribe and was the only person in the tribe who knew how to cultivate. The chief of the tribe was the most powerful person in the tribe. However, such a respected leader had given birth to a bastard son who abused his people and preyed on them. Although the chief was aware of his son's actions, he could not do anything about it. He could only turn a blind eye to his son's actions. "You asked me why I'm here? Don't you know everything?" the young man said with an evil smile and looked at the wooden house behind the crowd. At this time, Yenner and the others had already entered the wooden house and stayed with the women. "Don't go too far," Big Brother Sure said angrily. Gu Fei, on the other hand, looked at the young man in animal skin calmly. Although he was also very angry, he wasn't worried at all. This guy was too blind to actually provoke him. He changed his name to Dinyo and wanted to live a peaceful life with Yenner. However, as long as there were people, there would be all kinds of conflicts. "Too much? I don't think so." Soaring Leopard shrugged his shoulders and said disapprovingly. "You're going too far." The tan skinny man gritted his teeth and said, "I want to bully you. What can you do to me?" The Soaring Leopard smiled happily. He was glad that he had a leader as his father. It was because his father was the leader that he could do whatever he wanted. Humph! Everyone clenched their fists and glared at the Soaring Leopard. "Io, what are you guys doing?" Looking at the helpless look on everyone's face, Soaring Leopard enjoyed it very much. He loved to see the helpless and hopeless look on these people's faces. Big Brother Sure and the others wanted to kill this scourge. However, they couldn't because they were members of this tribe and their families were all here. If he was alone and had nothing to worry about, then he wouldn't have to worry about anything. He could just kill this spoiled brat and leave. However, reality forced them not to be reckless. "Since you guys are not going to do it, I shall." The young man in animal skin looked at the crowd mockingly. He then waved his hand and the 2 fierce-looking men behind him walked forward. "Fight." Soaring Leopard only said one word and walked towards the wooden house, ignoring Gu Fei and the others. To him, Gu Fei and the others were nothing to be afraid of. His 2 subordinates were more than enough to take care of them. After all, his 2 subordinates were very good at these things. "You be *****, Big Brother Sure roared. This spoiled brat was really out of control. He actually dared to do something like this and steal someone else's wife. Hearing the shouting and fighting sounds coming from behind him, Soaring Leopard smiled. He even felt that he was a little neurotic and liked to see others struggle in pain. "Sweetheart, I'm coming." The Soaring Leopard kicked the wooden door open and walked in proudly. Instantly, a wave of exclamations came from the wooden house. There were only some women and children in the house and they could not deal with the powerful Soaring Leopard. Bang! Very quickly, a figure broke through the wooden house and fell out, rolling in the yard. "Goddamn *****. Seeing this, the crowd that was beaten to the ground by the 2 men went crazy and their eyes turned red. However, there was nothing they could do. These 2 men were not people they could deal with. However, when they saw clearly, they were extremely shocked. Because the person who broke through the wooden house and fell into the yard was not the woman inside. It was the spoiled brat, Soaring Leopard. Young master. Seeing that Soaring Leopard had been beaten out of the wooden house, the two men could not help but be shocked. One should know that Soaring Leopard was the most beloved son of their leader. Nothing must happen to him. They hurriedly rushed over. However, just at this moment, a figure walked out of the wooden house. That person was dressed in white and had a peerless appearance. She was Yennefer. You killed our young master. Seeing that Soaring Leopard was lying on the ground without any signs of life, the two men could not help but turn pale. If Soaring Leopard died, they would not be able to explain themselves. In a fit of anger, their leader would definitely kill them. Yennefer did not speak. At this moment, her body emitted an extraordinary aura, as if she was a fairy that had descended from the heavens. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect Yennefer to be a hidden expert. Take her down. Otherwise, we will not be able to explain ourselves. The two men were both shocked and enraged. Then, they rushed towards Yennefer with malevolent looks on their faces. Their eyes shone with an ominous glint, as if they were two wolves baring their fangs at a lamb. However, in the next moment, an unbelievable scene happened. Yennefer waved her hand, and the two strong men were sent flying out of the courtyard, crashing into the undergrowth outside. Ah, it hurts. Just at this moment, Soaring Leopard, who was lying in the yard, suddenly moved and groaned in pain. He was not dead. He had merely fainted. Where's my little sweetheart? When the Soaring Leopard entered the wooden hut, someone kicked him out. The light in the wooden hut was dim, so he didn't see who did it. Who's your little sweetheart? At this moment, Gu Fei's voice rang out. He walked to the side of Soaring Leopard and stared coldly at this spoiled brat who was acting like a tyrant in the tribe. It's you. Men, tie him up and throw him into the lake to feed the fishes. Soaring Leopard shouted out arrogantly. Ha ha. The moment Gu Fei heard this, he could not help but burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? You're going to cry in a bit. Hurry up and kneel down and beg for mercy. If I'm in a good mood, I might even leave your corpse intact. Soaring Leopard said fiercely. Seems like you haven't figured out the situation yet. Gu Fei shook his head. This guy was used to acting like a tyrant. Even at this point in time, he was still behaving in the same manner. Seemed like someone like this could not be allowed to live. As long as a villain like this was alive, the rest of the tribe would have to suffer. At the thought of this, Gu Fei raised his right leg, ready to stomp this guy to death. Brother Daniu, please don't kill him. At this moment, Big Brother Sure and the others, who were knocked down by the two men, screamed out. If they could kill this scum, they would have done so long ago. This spoiled brat was the son of the tribe leader. Killing him would be disastrous. The consequences of that were not something they could bear. One had to know that within the entire tribe, no one was a match for the tribe leader. That was because the tribe leader was a cultivator. Even though he was close to 100 years old, he still looked like a 40-year-old man. You want to kill me? Ha ha. To think that you would want to kill me. Suddenly, the Soaring Leopard, who was lying on the ground, burst out laughing. It was as though he had just heard the funniest joke in the world. Looking at the Soaring Leopard, Gu Fei could not help but shake his head. Seemed like this guy was beyond saving. To think that he would still be so cocky. Did he really think that the father of the tribe leader would be able to save him? There were countless tribes in the mountains. This tribe here was just a small one that was inconspicuous. Compared to some of the bigger tribes, it was just weak. Gotcha. Just as the Soaring Leopard was laughing out loud, Gu Fei's right leg suddenly stomped down. A series of sounds of bones cracking rang out from the Soaring Leopard's body. His chest had caved in from that single stomp of Gu Fei's. The shattered ribs and sternum pierced into the Soaring Leopard's internal organs. Instantly, this insufferably arrogant spoiled brat breathed his last. Even at the moment of his death, this spoiled brat could not believe that this guy called Dania would actually dare to kill him. His face was filled with disbelief. No! Seeing Gu Fei stomp the Soaring Leopard to death, Big Brother Sure and the rest were extremely shocked. Now that the soaring leopard was dead, the tribe leader would definitely not let this matter rest. Brother Dainu, you actually… Big Brother Sure and the rest were dumbfounded. From their point of view, Gu Fei had gotten himself into big trouble. I will bear all the consequences. You guys don't have to worry, Gu Fei said to Big Brother Sure and the rest. Brother Dainu, what are you saying? We brothers are not cowards. Big Brother Sure and the rest struggled to stand up from the ground and said, Let's take advantage of the fact that the tribe leader hasn't discovered us. Let's quickly pack up and leave this place, the skinny man said. Roar! Just then, a furious roar came from afar. *T!